Well, ain't this swell? How fun. I had other stuff to do today, you know? But sure. Sure, I'll deal with this. What a load. How are y'all doing today? Welcome, I love turtles. You love turtles? Hello. No, it's okay. We're gonna be fine. We're gonna be fine. Sup? How's it going? They got my boy. They got me. You thought I took down the video? No. I did not take down the video. I did not. Sorry, it's okay. It's okay. You didn't even get to finish it? Sorry. It'll be back in some capacity. You didn't even get to watch it yet. I'm gonna if I don't get the original one restored, I'm gonna do a re-upload. So don't worry. The important stuff I said in it, I think, will stay. Yeah. There is a lot to talk about with this, though. I was already planning on doing a follow-up to the original Ozzy Fox video, because there is so much misinformation around it, and my initial Ozzy Fox video was just me like immediately after I looked at the news. So there's a bit more that I wanted to clear up with it anyway. So we will do some of that in this video. We will talk about some of the other misconceptions about Ozzy Fox and clear up one thing that we also will learn in this video after I talk about all the taking down and this other crazy stuff is I did find how the AI in Ozzy Fox works, and I have more transparency on how it works. So we will discuss that later. So stay tuned. But obviously we gotta get the headline out of the way. Video unavailable, copyright claim, I guess you would call it. It's not a copyright strike. I'm okay. I'm all right. This has never happened to me before. This is probably a bit of a rite of passage for us YouTubers, I'm sure. I gotta say, I almost feel like a real YouTuber with it. Sometimes even as I'm really starting to move forward with this stuff, you always get a little bit of imposter syndrome. This really makes me feel alive. Because this is what it is. This is the job. This is the biggest risk of this job, is that you put so much into it and something like this can just kind of tank you. Yeah, I've never had a problem with copyright. It's never happened to me. I've been making videos for, I started with gaming. Gaming doesn't really get copyrighted, but since I started doing media analysis, my main channel, I've been doing that for about a year and a half, almost 2 years now. And I have never gotten copyrighted. My videos always, they cover SpongeBob mostly, but I've covered Disney movies. I've covered all sorts of stuff. I always use footage. I'm very careful with how much of the footage I use. I do have a lot of respect for the concept of fair use. You've seen me on this channel. I've criticized the channel No Villains Are Safe, where they manipulate fair use and commentary to just use the show, like Family Guy or something. They'll barely recap it and show a bunch of clips, and that's what I criticize No Villains Are Safe for doing. So I think that this is kind of an example of how it's really hard to meaningfully address copyright anything without it just going too far. But yeah. Why are people saying $4? I did not make $4 from that video. You wanna know how much it probably would have made? How much I stand to lose? It's not that bad. I would say a video with these views of this average view duration, I would say this video, if I don't get monetized for it, I would say I would lose about $250. That's probably about what I would lose from it, like before taxes. It's like, and you never, and like there's also the fact that this video could have blown up. It could have gone like, because it's the most viewed video on the podcast channel, not the main channel. It's the most viewed video currently on the Jackson Philly podcast channel. In only 2 days, it was a very big breaking news story. Like it really got out there. Like it was something that people were really interested in because it's a confusing topic. Question: do you think your videos are hate videos? No, not really. I mean, like hate, I don't know. I mean, I guess I could say I like hate generative AI and like, but like it's good to hate generative AI. I don't know, but I feel like that as a term is like, ooh, I'm targeting it because I hate it. So no, I probably wouldn't use that. But but yeah. So um, you added your own comments. It wasn't just a reaction. Yeah. Let me see. Where should I start with this? Okay, so I am not the only person that this has happened to. So if we look at the reason that I wanted to talk about this, so okay, so I woke up this morning and I saw like that it like got blocked or this or that, and I like kind of I didn't think I was gonna like immediately address it. I thought that I would kind of, because I was already planning on doing a follow up for Ozzy Fox, so I just thought I would kind of like slightly address it, maybe see how like the dust settles, if like it's just like, oh, it was like a mistake or something like that. But then I saw that there were 2 other channels that covered it. And by the way, like throughout this stream, I'm like trying to like show so little. Like I don't even want to show like the Ozzy Fox character, I put it in the thumbnail and I was nervous enough about that. I don't think they'll get me for it being in the thumbnail. And it needed to be in the thumbnail because people need to know what I'm talking about. This is the problem, like where if you like feel like you can't show the thing that you're talking about, it severely limits how much you can talk about it. Like, so, but throughout this video, I'm really going to try and not show like anything. And you know me, like I like to show people what I'm talking about, and I show very little of what it is, but I show just enough. I think I'm very good at that. But I'm going to show very little. Anyway, these 2 channels that I know of, because I looked up, I was just looking to see if it happened to anyone else. So I just looked Ozzy Fox AI, and from very little looking, I saw that this one, LPS Cream Kali 78, they did a video on it at around the same time as me. They were doing very well with it. They actually had, I think they were going on like over 70K views on it. Very, especially for a channel of their size. I think they have, I don't know how many subscribers they have. They have fewer than me, but they were, or fewer than my main channel at least. But they were doing quite well with their channel, and they had a re-upload. So they got theirs taken down and they had a re-upload, and the re-upload is like, when I saw it, was under 1,000 views. So they just took like immediate action to try and get the video back up there. I am electing to wait myself. I want to see if the dispute just goes through and if it just gets put back up. That's what I think is going to happen, by the way. If it doesn't, then I'll probably do what that person did, and I will just go in and edit it and post a new version and just be, like that'll just be for, I guess, the fans of the channel that want to see it and didn't get a chance to see it, because it certainly would not get the same amount of views if something got 40,000 views in 2 days, like my video did. Like, it's going to, you re-upload it, and the people who already watched it now don't click on it because they already watched it. And now YouTube thinks, oh, people aren't as interested in this video, and then it's a whole thing. So it really screws you up. So that's why I'm just kind of hoping it just gets like reinstated and just kind of moves forward. Not the end of the world. It's it's not my most profitable video this month. But still, it's like it's not fun. It's not fun to lose $250, but it feels like, going to like the car mechanic or something, and it's like, oh, you gotta fix another gasket, and you end up dropping more money than you expected. That's kind of how it feels to me. So it's like, and that's a minor inconvenience. It's not like gonna ruin my life or anything. Like, it's fine. And the other one that got copyrighted is something called Cartoon Hangout. I don't know any of these channels. I don't know them very well. They look fine. Like, they look like they're channels that are critical of the whole AI thing. I didn't watch either of their original videos, so I can't endorse or I can't really speak for what they said in their videos. I'm just saying that there are other people who have reported on this that got taken down. Cartoon Hangout, theirs was a short, and they said that it was very odd that a short got blocked. I don't really make shorts. I've tried a couple of times. They generally weren't really worth my time to make shorts. I just am more of a long form creator, but apparently it's according to this Cartoon Hangout person, it's apparently very weird for a short to be blocked, in the sense that, like, they don't want people to see it. Usually what happens with a short is it gets the monetization gets funneled to the, like, original copyright holder. That's at least according to Cartoon Hangout, that's what they said. Again, it's never happened to me. So that is odd that it's actually, like, blocking it. That it's like, it's not so much that it's like, oh, like, you're getting, like, copyrighted and the revenue goes to, because that's usually the story, right? With a YouTuber who gets a copyright on something, is they're mad because the video's still up, but they're not making money. It's going to the people who own the copyright. And they feel like shafted because most of it is their work. Because 9 out of 10 times, maybe 99 out of 100 times, it's bogus. It's like, it's just, and then the 1 in 100 times, there no villains are safe, and it's like, good, we get rid of them. I don't want to say those numbers are accurate. In fact, it's probably less accurate. I would actually say, if you look at, I'm talking about, like, videos who are, like, trying, I guess, of all videos on YouTube ever, like, I guess there's more just random Family Guy compilations that get taken down that are deserved to get taken down. So, don't take it. These are all numbers we can't really properly know the numbers of. But yeah, this happened to other people, and that's why I wanted to report on it. Another thing that's weird about this is that it didn't claim a specific part of my video, because my video was not me going through the entirety of the preschool song and, like, reacting to it. In fact, I didn't play the music from the song. I played very little audio of it, and it was not a live stream. Usually my videos on the Jackson Family Podcast are live streams. That are usually the videos on Jackson Family Podcast are edited down live streams from the main channel. For Ozzy Fox, I chose specifically to not record it as a live stream. And the reason I didn't record it as a live stream is because I was concerned about copyright, is because I didn't want to watch a, out there, high profile Disney show, even if it is on YouTube. I didn't want to watch it live and try to navigate pausing it correctly and, like, worrying about getting copyrighted, like, midstream. That was why that was not a stream. I did the same thing when I covered the Shrek 5 trailer. Like, so sometimes so when I do that, it's because I was concerned about copyright. And so I cut around very specifically to show very little of the footage. Like, the most of the speaking that there was when I showed off that the father in the Ozzy Fox, the dad, his mouth was not synced to the words properly. Like the words were not lining up with his mouth. His mouth sync was off. And I criticized that because they were saying like AI show. And I'm like, oh, like they cut corners, so like that's why his mouth sync was off. People were telling me that is because Animaj is in France and Spain. They have like offices in France and Spain, so the original speech might have been in French or Spanish, which would have different mouth sync. I don't know if that's true. I think it's a little odd that if you're like, we're the AI show, look how efficient our AI is, you're going to have something like that is a dubbing issue. I don't know. It could be true. It's strange. But yeah, that was what someone said about that. Anyway, that was the most I put for the like sound, and it was 3 seconds. I usually put up to 6 seconds in like of a SpongeBob episode, of anything comparable, of Disney movies. Like I just did live action Moana. That was what I just covered. I mean, I could only use the trailer footage from the actual live action movie, but I had tons of footage from Moana, the original movie. Way more of the Moana movie is in that video than Ozzy Fox is in this video. So very odd, very strange. So I am not a conspiratorial person. And the reason that I'm not is because I am someone who has gone very out of my way to learn how to identify patterns and to learn how to identify behaviors and to learn how to come up with reasonable explanations for why things happen. Like, for example, I would say that the thing that I said in this video that got blocked, that one of the reasons that big companies push AI in the arts is because they hate the arts. They want the arts to fail. Like, it's not all about money. It is about that the arts challenge power, and people with power want to weaken the arts because the arts challenge power. Now, you might think that is a conspiratorial belief. But a conspiracy would mean that I claim that there are shadowy boardrooms of people trying to make that happen, that it's a spoken thing. And that's actually not what I think when I claim that. What I do think is that there is an attitude from people in power that they hate the arts. They don't speak it out loud. They don't go into boardrooms and say, here's how we destroy the arts. They just feel that way about the arts, and that leads them to embracing AI. That is what I mean when I say that. And that is not a conspiracy. That is an identification of what I think human nature is causing this thing to happen. And I could be incorrect about that, and there are ways that you could argue against that, but that is not conspiratorial. So with something like this, like, the first thought is like, are they trying to silence people talking about this? And I don't know, man. I don't know. I like, it just seems silly to me. I really don't think that I really don't think that Disney or Animaj are out there feeling threatened by my video. I really don't. I don't think my singular video is really a threat to them. Maybe I could be broadly, depending on how big I get and how much of an influence I have over, like, people's perceptions of AI. Maybe. But even that, like, just the idea that there's some big executives in boardrooms that care about my video, I think that I think that I'd have to be pretty arrogant to think that that's what's going on here. you know, um, as much as I kind of titled the video that, like, ooh, Disney doesn't like me talking about their AI show. um, but that's just a punchy title. I can't argue with a punchy title. So I don't know. I just don't really know if that's it. I feel like, so something I said in the original video was that a big problem with this whole Ozzy Fox thing is that there is a ton of misinformation around it. And my video was a way of not trying to rectify the misinformation with correct information, only because at the time I did not have the correct information. I want people to have the correct information. And I think today I do have a lot of correct information. But I think what I really wanted to achieve with that video was just to tell people, hey, there's a lot of misinformation about this, so that when people look at Ozzy Fox, they look at it with a raised eyebrow, rather than all of the Reddit posts that I saw that were like, this is an AI generated show, and everyone thinks that the characters are AI generated or this or that, when that is not what is going on. I even kind of take issue with that. I feel compelled to call this an AI show, which is also in the title of this stream, of this video, this AI show, but that's what everyone is calling it. So I can't just not call it an AI show when that's how people are going to understand it to be that. It's almost similar to how I hate calling anything AI, because AI doesn't actually exist. Like, AI is a science fiction term for creating something that is alive with computers. It's a simplified version of it, but that's what it is. Like, AI, like an LLM is not AI. We just call it that because words have no meaning. I talked about this in my one video about Karen and SpongeBob and being AI. It's similar to like when we called hoverboards AI back in like 2015, because hoverboards were in Back to the Future and we all were like, ooh, why aren't hoverboards invented? And then they made a thing that wasn't a hoverboard and they called it a hoverboard. Like, we do this. We lie to ourselves. That's what my issue with AI. But like, everyone is calling it AI. So like, if I don't call it AI, if every time I say it, I'm like, I use a different word, you're not going to know what I'm talking about. So like, AI show is kind of like that with this whole AI show thing. It's just a way of me getting out there what this is. But this isn't an AI show. It really isn't. It's like, it's not like when you hear Disney made an AI show, you think that they typed in a prompt that said, make me a show where foxes sing about cleaning up their room. And then the AI just did it for them. This is what is in the majority of people's minds when they see a headline that says Disney released its AI-produced animated series. And that could not be further from what it actually is. Like, and this is bad for a lot of reasons. It's bad for one, because I think people misunderstand how AI is not capable of a lot of things. And this makes them think that AI is capable of generating a Fox character that is of the quality of the characters in this show. And they do, like, I had criticisms of their designs, sure, but just from an artistic standpoint, it was not, and these designs are bad because they're AI, because they literally aren't AI. And it's not even the kind of thing where it's like, oh, they're so bad they might as well be AI. No, they are better than what AI could make, because they were made by people. They were made by real artists who have talent. But people will look at it and they will think that they are generated, because people don't know. Like, we've literally, my biggest go-to example of how people don't understand what AI is capable of is people who say that AI will one day create season 8 of Game of Thrones. They're gonna have AI rewrite and generate a new version of season 8 of Game of Thrones because the original season 8 of Game of Thrones is so bad. And that claim tells us two things. One, that the kind of person who is making that claim is the kind of person who thinks that the only thing that was wrong with Game of Thrones was season 8. There were problems with that show way before season 8. If you wanted to regenerate the show to make it better, you would have to start way earlier than that. But also, it also shows that someone just thinks that that could be possible, and it really can't be. There is no and when I say like impossible, I literally mean like impossible, like not like we're limited by our imagination or whatever, like, or like the technology can't get there. I mean like that is literally impossible in the sense, unless you made a thing that was alive and did that work for you, but it was a robot and it had like robot capabilities, but it would have to be alive. Like it would have to, like, that is a requirement for what would be able to create that. And the people who argue that, they think that like an LLM will just be able to do that, and it's not true. And something like this misinformation about Ozzy Fox will do that, will make people think that, and that's really what my video was about. But glad you watched it yesterday before it was blocked. Yeah, yeah, it's very odd. Okay, so the issue with Ozzy Fox was that there's misinformation. And so another thing that I said with all this, another thing that I pointed out with all this misinformation stuff is that I think that Disney or the like people in charge, I think that they, okay, so again, like I don't want to get conspiratorial, but this is, okay, so I think that there are certain people in Disney or behind the scenes, these sorts of big suit corporate types who have an interest in using AI in the arts for whatever reason, whether that be, just because they're greedy or something more sinister that they hate the arts or something like that. Probably a combination of both. And these groups have a vested interest in people not really understanding what AI is. And I think that that is why there was so much misinformation about Ozzy Fox. So something that is really something that is trying to be something that they are trying to normalize is not the generating of movies from scratch. This is not a real thing that anyone, at least anyone who's being taken seriously, is pushing for. Like, this is not a real problem. Like, you can look at people on Reddit who will, like, post some, like, Captain America fighting Shrek made with Sea Dance 2.0, and they'll be like, Hollywood is cooked. This is going to be movies now. And, like, there are people who say that, and those people are dumb, and we can debunk them. But that's not a real problem right now. That is not an actual issue that is happening. What is actually happening is, the term would be AI-assisted workflow, is the thing that is trying to be pushed by executives in this whole thing. And when you have something like Ozzy Fox that uses things that, I guess let me try to get into, no, I shouldn't get into that now. So when you have something like Ozzy Fox, where people don't understand how it was made, but they see the word AI and it's AI workflow, that muddies what like amount of AI can be used in the workflow. Because that's how they will get away with weakening the arts, is having things that are AI sneak their way into stuff, and then they put enough human stuff above it so that you don't notice, but they still get away with it. That's all, like, because AI is all schemes. It's all schemes and smoke and mirrors and trying to convince you that it's not AI. That's like a very weird, like, isn't that weird that everything that is AI, its whole thing is trying to convince you it's not AI? Like, that's not what animation was when it was invented. When they started making animated movies in the 1930s, they didn't make animated movies to try and trick you into thinking that they weren't animated movies, that they were actually live action movies. They made animated movies to show you, here's how animated movies look so good. Here's how we can do our own art with stuff. AI is always trying to convince you that it's not AI. Except for sometimes where something that kind of isn't AI tries to convince you that it is AI. Which is, I think, what is happening with Ozzy Fox. Because I guess we should get into... They don't understand most people would never watch an AI movie. No, they do, though. That's why they didn't make one. Like, they do know that. That's why they have to do all this. Before we get more into it, I made a little meme for the occasion. Before we get deeper into the discussion, I made a little meme for the occasion. I had this in my head, and I just needed to put it out there. I hope you enjoy. This is where we're at. All right. Okay, so I am here in the comments section of the original video. I actually put a little, you'll see there's a little black bar over here. I'm literally covering up the thumbnail because the thumbnail had the Ozzy Fox character in it. And if what they got me for was that the still image of the character is enough, so I can't even risk it with that. That's probably a bit of an over precaution, but I don't want to take any risks. It's all right. So in order to properly move forward with this discussion, I want to talk about what Ozzy Fox actually did, I think, with AI. I got a lot more info about it. One of the things that I criticized Ozzy Fox for was a lack of transparency. That we see a thing that says this is an AI-produced animated series, and it was only the videos themselves of the show. There wasn't a video next to it that was, here's how we made it. Now, are you, as a creator, under obligation to put a description or to put a walkthrough of how you made something when you put it out there? I wouldn't say so. Not really. That's a bit of a big ask for a lot of things. However, I do think it's a bit tone deaf for you to not do that with something like this and leave everyone confused when you know people are going to ask this question. And I also think that if you are, from Disney and Animaj's perspective, if this is a technology that you want to promote, that you want to push, that you want to say is fine, is not a big deal, you should probably want to promote how it's made next to it. Like, I think it would have been in their best interest to do that. So I do think that them not doing that is a way of allowing misinformation to spread through inaction not so much them trying to, through action, spread misinformation. That makes sense. Like, I think that I think that they want it to be a little more cloudy. Now, while there is not a video that I know of that says how Ozzy Fox was created, there is a video on the process in which Ozzy Fox is created with, I think. You need to take, like, and again, this is so I don't spread misinformation. You need to take so much of a grain of salt on, like, all of this. This is so difficult to cover because of how much we don't know about this. Because again, that's the whole game. And I think the fact that they're taking down videos on it, I think even shows that that's got to be a part of it, is the not knowing, the not understanding, the misinformation is a part of normalizing AI in the arts. I think, like, there's got to be at least some of that here. But anyway, there is a video. There is a video on the AI that this company uses. Again, I don't know if it's used for Ozzy Fox specifically. I think just for the sake of argument, we just need to assume that it is. I don't want to show this commenter. This commenter was very interested in getting at the truth. I really appreciate this commenter. They were very thorough. I had other commenters that were similar, and I appreciate them too. There were a lot of commenters that did really want to get at the truth, get at the bottom of this. This one is just the one that I'm going to highlight because they were very they were just very thorough. And this person linked me a video that showed off, like, how the AI works. And I don't want to show it. Like, I wish I could show it. Like, I wanted to show it. But, like, it seems it's from Animaj specifically, and it says that Animaj took down my other video. So I feel like if I show anything that's Animaj, I feel like they're going to try to nuke it, you know? Like, so I don't know. It would have been a lot more useful for me to show you the video and, like, actually, like, comment on it specifically, but I think I'll just have to tell you what I remember from seeing in the video, and we'll just have to make do with that. I will link the video itself in the description of this, the video that I'm talking about, so that you can go see it yourself and draw your own conclusions. And if you think that anything that I said about it was disingenuous, you can go watch it for yourself and you can call me out for it. But yeah, I don't feel like I can show it myself. So basically what the video was that this person linked to me was an artist drew a sketch of a character. It was the character Pocoyo. That's like another character who is owned by this company. I don't think it was originally created by them. I think they bought it out, but it's just a character that's owned by this company. And that was the character. So the artist would draw the character in 2D in a pose, and then the pose would immediately translate to the 3D model. So the process in between that is very crucial to what we're getting. Because what I want to know that the video didn't really explain to me is what happens in between the sketch and the 3D model that pops out. Is it that the sketch goes into a 3D model that has a specific amount of bones and a specific way of making a facial expression that is already set up and lined up, and then all it does is it moves the pose into the bones that are close to the sketch, and it designs the face based on the sketch in a way that is consistent with the model that already exists. Because I think if the process is what I just described it, I don't think I have an issue with that morally. I could get into some ways that could possibly weaken a product, but I could say that about CGI. I could say that about a lot of things that I don't think should be banned. It's just it's like, if you use electronic music, it's like electronic music. You could be really useful if you put in the right notes and you design it with human intent, but also at the same time, there is an importance to real instruments and all that sort of stuff. Like it just seems like that's like fine if that is what it does. Now, if what it does is it goes through people say haphazardly goes through the internet. That's actually not what AI does. AI goes through a lot of training data is actually what it does. But if it goes through a large amount of training data and then it tries to create a thing based off of all of this training data and your sketch, that's where it crosses a line. I don't know if that's what it does. And I feel like that's not what it does, because that would be silly if that's what it does, because that's less efficient than the first thing I said. The first thing I said was that it goes through models that you made. You have all these models, you have a couple of models, and then you do the sketch, and the sketch takes the model, and the model goes into that pose, and that's easier to do than moving the model. That makes more sense than it scours massive data sets, and that gives more control to the artist. I don't think an artist is going to want it to go through massive data sets, because they're not going to get what they're looking for. That's what people complain about with AI, is they get random stuff. They're like, what is that? But if it's with this more rigid thing, like I feel like they're going to want it to be the first thing. So I'm going to assume that the thing that it is the first thing that I said, that it is not using a massive data set. And if I am incorrect, I condemn the technology for that reason. But I'm going to go with it that it's the first thing, that it's the less sensational thing. That it's the thing that basically would make me say that Ozzy Fox as a show is a valid piece of art. Again, I don't think it's as good as Bluey. I think that Bluey, but that's basically it. At that point, it's just comparing one thing that didn't do as good of a job as another thing. It's no different than when I criticize modern SpongeBob as opposed to classic SpongeBob. I don't think that modern SpongeBob is invalid as an art form. I just think that there are some shortcomings to modern SpongeBob. But it's still art. It's just that something else did it better. And basically, with that, my criticisms of Ozzy Fox would begin and end there. They really would. And if that was the case, I wouldn't even talk about Ozzy Fox. Why would I talk about Ozzy Fox, a random preschool show? Is that what I'm covering these days? I barely have time to cover things that are way bigger than a random preschool show. Like, I couldn't even finish my Amazing Digital Circus video on time, and that was a huge show that, like, ended in a certain thing. I had too much stuff going on to cover that. Why am I talking about Ozzy Fox? Because it used AI in the phrasing, not in the thing. And that brings me to, like, my biggest issue here. Why are we calling this AI? Why are we calling this process that, to my understanding, just takes a thing that someone drew and then it takes 3D models that they made and it just matches the 3D model to the thing that the person drew? Why are we calling that artificial intelligence? Even the fact that AI is not AI, like that an LLM that generates an image is not AI, even the fact that is not AI. Let's take that. But even that, the phrasing of AI can at least make a little bit of sense. Intelligence, the idea of calling this thing that generates an image intelligence, I get the logic there. I could poke some holes in it. I do think that it is fallacious thinking. I do think that it's not what we should call it. I think the train has left the station on that being what we call it. I think we're going to call it that for forever or until it gets banned. But well, I guess we would call it that even in the context of it being banned and just referring to it in the past. That ship has sailed. But the idea of, oh, I get it. The thing thinks for you. The thing makes the thing on its own. That's what makes it intelligence. That is not what the Animaj thing, as it's been described to me, does. It just isn't. Because it's not really doing it for you. It's moving something in a certain way that you did for. It does some of it for you, but so does any tool. And I would call this a tool, at least if it works how I think it works from what I saw. So yeah. I don't know. Like, also, to Bewilder, thank you for the $5. Sorry, I responded to your super chat a little late. I was kind of on a roll there with what I was saying. First time catching a live. I like hearing you explain your opinions and interpretations of the show. Thanks for putting down AI, summon, and tech. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I am glad that I can give you some hope. When did I make the video? The original video was posted on Saturday. Which is not my usual schedule for the Jackson Finale podcast. I don't usually post on Saturdays. But I usually post on my main channel on Saturdays. But my live action Moana video was going to be a little late, so it was going to go up on Sunday. So I had the Saturday slot available, and I got up on Saturday morning, and I filmed it, and I put it out that same day. Like, because it was breaking news. That was why I covered it on Saturday. I thought that this was an important news story. Like, that's why I put it out there. So I think another thing to talk about is, okay, so here's the main problem. They called it AI when it kind of wasn't. So why would they do that? Because it's very odd. Because you would think that with the backlash to AI in the arts, that this company or Disney or whoever is making this show, this Ozzy Fox, and they developed this technology to make their workflow faster in a way that I think has some validity to it. We'll get to some criticisms. I also have M here to give a more artistic approach to where there could be problems with that. We will discuss that in a bit. But all in all, something that increases their workflow and still preserves the artistic intent. And they created this technology. Why call it AI? Like, why? Like, wouldn't you think that it'd be the other way around? That they're like, oh, this is a thing that we don't have to call AI because it's so not like AI. We can just not call it AI, and yay. So isn't it weird that they wanted to call it AI? Now, there's kind of an obvious answer. It's because while AI makes the normies mad, the normies? I guess it wouldn't be normies. While AI makes a lot of people mad, AI is also a buzzword. It gets investors. It gets all this sort of, the AI bubble, all that sort of stuff. Like AI is a big word right now for business. So by using AI, by calling the thing AI because it just meets that threshold of being considered AI, it can bump up certain numbers for them stocks wise. But I do think that the real reason is that it's normalizing AI that we would not want to see. If, because I'm really sick of, I really don't like when words don't mean things. It's pretty annoying. I was listening to George Carlin not too long ago, And there was this one bit from George Carlin where he was saying that he was at an airport and he was complaining about how they say, "We will now begin the boarding process." And he's saying, you don't need to say process. You can just say, "We will now begin the boarding." Process just tries to make it sound more official. And I think that's kind of what we're dealing with here, where it's like, this is just a thing that, moves a 3D model. It's just a way of putting a 3D model into a specific spot. At least that's what I think it is. You don't need to call it AI. You're just calling it AI to make it sound more futuristic. But what you're also doing by calling it AI is that you're obfuscating when things that are actually AI start to get used. You're obfuscating when the process does go through a data set and generate something, because you're already normalizing it with this. And I think that's a part of why, and I think it being a preschool show is a part of this. A preschool show is in the right, it's in just the right spot when it comes to not being seen by the public. So the fact that this is a preschool show means a couple of things. First of all, it means that a lot of people are going to watch it and excuse certain quality issues. We did look at, there were some weird things with the mom character had like an eye out of place. This could still be consistent with the sketch thing. Perhaps the sketch was off. Perhaps the technology screwed up with moving the sketch to the 3D model in a way that didn't have anything to do with data sets. Or maybe it's because they did use data sets and that's why the model was off. I do think that it's the more charitable explanation that the thing, it is not using data sets. The way AI is defined like this would mean the Goombas in Mario 1 are AI. The ghost from Pac-Man would be considered AI under that. Yeah, exactly. And like people do call characters like that, like video game characters, they do refer to them as AIs. I can't do it. I remember I was I used to cover gaming. I don't really do so much anymore. Just because I'm much more successful with covering movies and TV. But I used to cover gaming, and I remember that like gaming videos would like call like a Mario Party NPC or the gaming channels would call like Mario Party computer players AIs. I just can't do it because the term is ruined for me. So it technically kind of is accurate, but it's like not accurate. I don't, that's kind of the whole problem is the words are losing their meaning and we're all getting confused because of it. And that's how this stuff thrives. So anyway, back to it being a preschool show and that being a part of this. So the preschool show, it has less of a threshold for quality. It's going to get more views just based on one that, with preschool shows, the parents are not judging the quality. They like, even with a show that's like for 10, 12-year-olds, there are parents that can judge the quality, that they will think that they need to judge the quality. But if a preschool show is like really weak, it'll fly under the radar. But again, like it wasn't even low quality because again, it wasn't made with AI. Like it really wasn't. So like it's not even that it was low quality. It wasn't perfect. I thought it was kind of it was like Coco Melon. Like that's what it was. It was like here's a song about cleaning up a room. It wasn't like Bluey where it made it way more deep of a lesson and was still entertaining for the parents. It was not like that. It was like Coco Melon, but like it's, and that has its own problems, but that's not really what it is. But like it being a preschool show bumped up its viewership in a certain way. Also, people rewatch preschool shows. They rewatch the song. They'll play that song for their kid every day, you know? It's been, 4 days, you know? I'm sure thousands of people who watched it have played that video for them every day. That bumps up views. That's a thing. But I think another thing is that with like a preschool show, it's like an average person isn't really going to cover it. There's going to be this barrier. Even I felt that, where it's like, you know, if it were like a regular kids show, if it were like a show that was like for SpongeBob's age group, but it was this AI produced, it would get a lot more attention. There'd be a lot more guys like me talking about it. So I think they wanted a little less attention on it, but they also wanted the headlines to say that it was AI produced. And this all leads into a big soup of misinformation that just causes people to draw no other conclusion than, well, AI was there and it looks fine. Guess I was wrong. And then they start to get away with it. And I also think that that's contributing to why it's taking down videos of it. Using just that this Ozzy Fox preschool show, if there's any footage of it in someone's video, they're going to take it down. I think that that's just easier to get away with because it was a preschool show. If I do a super chat, can I ask an unrelated question? Or would it be better suited for a donation comment? No, I could do a super chat for an unrelated question. That's fine. It might not make it into the edited stream. But sure. Go ahead. Go for it. I probably would only answer an unrelated question in a stream like this if it were a super chat, though. Sometimes I answer unrelated questions in other streams, but this one is pretty specific. Yeah, so do I have anything else? Oh, okay. So Animaj does one other thing that I do take issue with. So like, okay, so I talked a lot about how Animaj is their whole thing is that like this whole thing with the AI technology is that it's not AI. So I want to talk. So I think the only reason that it's not AI is because the kind of AI that would have data sets, it just would come with a level of backlash that they don't want. I don't think it's so much of a principled thing. Perhaps it is because their artists would not be happy. You know, it probably would be hard to retain artists if they feel like they're going to get replaced by a computer. So I feel like if you sell to artists like, hey, this is the technology, but it's not replacing you. It's this sort of thing that it's like, it's probably a part of it. But something else that this person talked about was, where is it? Yeah. This is what the commenter claims, so I can't speak to all of the truth of this, but apparently with Animaj, there's some kind of AI model that simply reads trends and who interacts with them to better find a target audience, which might explain why their Ozzy the Fox includes a toilet video, quite common among kids' content farms on YouTube. And that musical number with the weird timer on the side seen in your video. So, like, I don't really know what that is. Again, it feels like a sort of thing that is, like, more so advanced search than, like, AI LLM. Again, I'm in favor of advanced search. I, like, if this is as described, this AI model that reads trends and who interacts with them, and you just say, hey, and you just go into a computer program and it goes through a lot of data and just gives you an answer based on that data, I don't think that's super terrible. But again, they're calling it like AI, AI. And I guess like advanced search is like with AI. It's really confusing. I hate the term AI and where it's going with it. It's all over the place. But that is another thing about Animaj, is that they are in favor of some kind of, I guess, AI model, for lack of a better term. I'd probably rather not call it an AI model, that reads trends and who interacts with them. That might not be the worst thing in the world, although I can think of an immediate clear issue with that, which is that it's going to, like, something like that would lead to, it's kind of like with focus groups, where everything is going to be for the lowest common denominator. Only things that come off as their trends get picked up by this technology, and it tells the creators that those are trends, and then those creators do it more, and it just becomes a vicious cycle. I do think that is an obvious issue with something like that, but that issue is more so with the results of that sort of thing, not so much that it's AI or that it removes human intent from the arts, because that's not actually what the issue would be. It would still have human intent when you create the thing based on what this model tells you is the trends. It's just that the trends that would be chosen would come from the lowest common denominator. It's really like, it's the same problem that like focus groups have, just on a much larger scale. Again, it's something that could be useful, but we would need to use it responsibly, and knowing the human race, we probably wouldn't use it responsibly. Hey, thank you for the other $5 to Bewilder. Difference between AI and tech upgrades is that it doesn't do it for you. Making Toy Story, like you talked about before, wasn't an easy process. Yeah, exactly. I think that that's really the major distinction. Like, okay, so here's like kind of the line that I want to draw. That's a very difficult line to figure out, but once you do, it's very clear where the rigid line is. And this is just the line between valid and invalid art. And it's basically, if the thing that you are using to create the art, does it take away a person doing a thing that human intent is necessary for? So this applies to choosing color schemes. Colors invoke emotions, invoke feelings. Colors mean things. These need to always be chosen by people. Because if they're not chosen by people, applied broadly, we are going to get weaker interactions with the colors in media. This leads to social consequences. Facial expressions of characters are meant to invoke an emotional response. We as human beings understand what faces mean, what faces communicate to people. We reflect that in art. Having AI do that removes that broadly over the entire media landscape. This leads to negative social consequences and a more antisocial population. That is why I think that generative AI should be illegal for these sorts of things. We have a vested interest as humanity to not have that. Basically anything that is like created, a background, a character, words, the actual things that characters say, music, of course, all these things should not be like created by a computer. They require human intent. And that's really the line. That's really the line for me. And then from there, we can have conversations about, is it going to harm the final process? So CGI has had negative consequences on movies. But I don't think CGI should be banned. I just think we need to use CGI responsibly. Like, so many movies wanting to CGI in a monster or a sort of thing that would have been before CGI a puppet or a sort of or something, like for example, I think Jaws is a big, Jaws is kind of the big example. Like, the reason that Jaws succeeded so much as a movie is because not only because they used a real shark animatronic that was controlled in a certain way, but also because that shark animatronic broke and they had to film around it, and they had to tell the story in a way where you were still afraid of this shark even though you didn't see it very often. If Jaws was made in 2026, it would have been a CGI shark, and the movie would have it wouldn't have resonated in the same way. Now, this does not mean ban CGI. This just means that we have to learn from why Jaws was successful, and then we have to, with access to technology that would not force us to do so, make the active decision to prioritize the story of what we are creating, to prioritize the art form of what we are creating. And I think that we can apply this principle to what this technology is that I refuse to call AI, because if I think it's valid, I don't want to call it AI. But this technology that Animaj has used to make this Ozzy Fox, and why perhaps they did not utilize this technology responsibly, and that led to some of the shortcomings in the Ozzy Fox cartoon. Em, would you like to give your input on that? What do you think if someone uses this technology, what do they lose in terms of like the animation? What do we possibly miss out on?
We miss out on.
Do you want to give your input?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna get Em on here. Em is an artist. She knows this stuff better than me. She drew my guy behind me, and yeah, I want her to give her input on what might be taken away from this sort of thing. Let me just make sure you're in the frame.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to check, actually.
Oh, I got it. That's for me to worry about. Okay, you're off center a little bit.
Well, I'm short. Sorry.
I'll move the mic a little closer to you. You're good.
I don't need to hold it.
You're fine.
Okay. So yeah, the problem that I have with this Animaj, like the taking the sketches to like the poses, is that when you do storyboard, because I've trained like storyboard artists. Oh. When you train in storyboard animation and all that, one of the things you see when you study that is how much of artistic freedom that you get as an artist. If you take a look at the shot in the Amazing Digital Circus, you can see a few times where the animators went rogue, where they had where they had the storyboard that was drawn by another department to help the animators pre-plan what was going on, and they just do their own thing. And I think that's really cool to see artists all coming together on a project and giving their own inputs, because it shows the different experiences of the art of the artist, and you lose that when you tell a computer, hey, take my pose and make it exactly, because then so it's very it's lifeless. You do lose a lot from it.
I remember you were saying earlier how it limits what you can do. It's only within the specific bounds of what the.
Yeah. So when it comes to storyboard animation, especially 3D, we have these principles called squash and stretch, and it applies to all animation, not just 3D. But you're able to pull the character around and play with different camera angles, and you lose that when you have it do the robot, their AI software, you lose that being able to just make the characters more expressive. Um,
Just say it just say there's a possibility that this could be useful, but it can also limit us. Say that.
yeah, but there's a possibility that this could be useful, but overall it's just going to limit us, and that's not good because, like I said, the art should be 100% human, like no exception.
Well, yeah. Oh, you're good.
I'm good.
Yeah, you're good. You have anything else to say?
No,
Okay.
no, I pretty much gave my quick input.
All right, I'm back. How are y'all doing? So, so yeah, I think that's like, so yeah, I think that's kind of the final. So I'd say to wrap up with the big problems here is first off that misinformation is being spread to further normalize the use of AI in the arts. And it's being done in a way where they're pushing something that doesn't even really use AI. Again, there could be some issues with this technology. It's definitely in the same vein of like AI, like it is this same issue of, okay, how do we speed up the process without considering what you might lose? That is something that I can be critical of this technology for. Again, I don't think that it's completely invalid technology. The problems that that M was talking about that I agree with is that you can lose out on certain parts of the creative process by moving the sketch directly to the 3D model in this way. And it also can severely limit you. But at the same time, just like how if you made Jaws today and understood that a CGI shark would not be as impactful and made decisions around that, you could probably responsibly use this technology and then understand, okay, great, so this technology limits me. There's a limitation to it. There's only these sorts of movements that it will do. It's only going to move the model in certain ways. All right, here are our limitations. Great. Now let's, as artists, now that we've assessed these limitations, let's look at times where we can go back to the old way of animating in certain key moments so that we can still have big movements, you know, all this sort of stuff. And I think one problem with it is, I think that there is kind of I think that the biggest issue with something like this is that you might be thinking, even as I just said what I said, I was almost thinking, oh yeah, so like this technology can be used for the movements that aren't important. And then the movements that are important, we can go ham with the animation. But here's the problem. In animation, every single movement should be important. Every single thing that happens should be important. It's like with writing, AI writing, people think this, where they're like, oh, well, like I'm just going to have AI do the parts of the writing that don't matter. I'm just going to have AI make the structure and then I do the real stuff. And this implies that there are parts of a script, that there are parts of a story that are like filler, that are unnecessary. And then the parts that the artist does are the parts that are like the big moments. But that's actually not how a story works. In a story, everything that is said by a character is important. If it's not, you should just cut it out. You just shouldn't even have it. So animation might be that way too. I think this almost leans us into an idea that it's like, oh, well, like this technology will just do the parts of the animation that don't matter. Well, it all matters. It all should matter. And again, we see this with not AI. This is not even an AI problem. This is Family Guy. Family Guy has this problem where Family Guy, the models of the characters have specific movements and this, and most scenes in Family Guy are just like characters sitting in a room and like kind of moving sometimes and like this and that, you know, and all that. And then every so often it does a more spectacle moment. Every so often it does something for a joke that's a little more specific with the animation. You know, like this is not just an AI problem. It's just that the attitude that leads to this problem is the same problem that is related to all of this AI stuff. And the other big issue is that it's just muddying the term of AI and just like throwing it all out there. It's very weird. It's all very weird. Yeah, surprising. Well, I hope they bring my video back, the original one. Not all release one that is edited. If the original video is back or if I had to upload a new one, I'm going to link it in the description. So go check it out and see if it's there. If it's not there, that means it's just not back yet, and I haven't decided if I was going to redo it. But yeah, this is odd. This is an odd story. That's for sure. That is for sure. Still a lot of misinformation out there. I don't know if I've cleared up everything, but at least I tried. Were you milking sponge truths? Me? Milking sponge truths? Define milking. Do I want to talk about sponge truths today? I feel like I shouldn't, but I'm here, you know? Like I'm here. Bye-bye. You're good. Yeah, we want to talk about a little sponge juice. I don't know. I might. You know, I'm pretty busy today. Sponge juice has been weird lately, huh? Sponge juice has been odd. What did someone ask me? Have I been milking sponge juice? Oh, I still have the little black box. I'll get rid of that. Wait, why Ice Cube? Someone asked me, am I milking sponge truths? I will be honest. Sponge truths is such a reliable source of content that I definitely do default to them when I'm like, I kind of want to make sure that I get a consistently well-performing video. I wouldn't exactly say that I milk them. There just is the thing about sponge truths that's really great is that their content is all very different, so there's always something new to talk. There's always something new to talk about with them. That's why I talk about sponge truths more than any other comparable channel. I think that No Villains Are Safe is worse of the two. No Villains Are Safe is definitely the worst channel of the two, but No Villains Are Safe, it's all the same. Like, it's all the same. No Villains Are Safe had like a month-long hiatus. They're back now. I was hoping that they were gone for good. I didn't think it was likely. They were still doing well. But yeah, he might be just doing mostly hours of AI slop to fall asleep to. Yeah, how long is he going to go with that? Spongers hasn't posted a real video in 2 weeks. That's weird, right? That's very odd. I mean, I guess he's got a lot of content. 3 hours of SpongeBob Theories. How long would it take him If he just does 3 hours, how long would it take him to get through the whole catalog? Would you consider doing a reaction to some Alex Myers videos? Is that the guy who everyone was mad at about Obsessions? Yeah, everyone was mad about him with Obsession. I have not ever seen his videos. I've just heard of him. What's wrong with him? What does he do? What does he do that's so bad? Was he the Obsession guy that people were mad about? Wait, where is it? Did he take it down? Maybe he took it down. Yes, he took it down. He's very surface level in his takes and said some not okay stuff in the Obsession vid. What did he say? What did he say in the Obsession vid? I didn't see Obsession. My brother saw it. He said it was good. Is Millie Bobby Brown okay? Yeah, I feel like that's odd. It's an odd title. Toy Story 4 is even worse than I imagined. What's so bad about Toy Story 4? I like Toy Story 4. I guess Toy Story 4, I'd say I like it the least of all 5 of them, but like I still like it a lot. Toy Story is just a very consistent franchise to me. I've been wrong about Toy Story 2 my whole life. What are we even doing anymore? Mario Galaxy movie. Does anyone have a recommendation? Like, is there any video of his I should really watch? Because I'd be curious if he's the Obsession guy. That's kind of recent-ish drama. In Obsession, he basically said that he related to the villain who took away another character's autonomy to make her love him. Ah, gotcha. He said some very misogynistic stuff and defended the main character villain for his heinous actions. I see. He keeps saying Crystal Latina mommy about Nikki. Well, that's not polite. His animation is insufferable. His animation? Thinly Veiled Incel channel. Dang. Kind of want to. You're kind of selling me on this. I gotta like make a thumbnail though. How much time do I got? Am I an hour 22? Guys, I gotta work on my theory. I'm procrastinating. I put a deadline for myself. I have to have it done by Friday. My Twinkle Twinkle Patrick Star theory. I've already started a little bit. I cleared my whole week for it. I was planning on not streaming this whole week. I was planning on not even posting to the podcast channel this whole week. I'm like all hands on deck with the Twinkle Twinkle Patrick Star theory. It's gonna be a monster. It's gonna be huge. I actually don't know how long it's gonna be. Might be shorter than I expect. I actually don't know. I'm thinking it's got to be a half an hour at least. Twinkle Twinkle Patrick Star theory. But like I'm also like I'm here, you know, like I got the camera set up. I don't know if I'll stream again the rest of this week. Maybe I should just go for it. All right, what do we think is like a good video? Cuz he talks a lot about stuff I don't really cover. L. When 90s nostalgia goes horrible wrong. I'm kind of curious about this one. Cuz I know Legally Blonde really well actually. Because I was in it in the musical when I was in 8th grade. So I actually know a lot about Legally Blonde. Hey, thank you for the $2 to be Willow. Over under on Spunstruce coming back right after. Over under? What do you mean? I say Turning Red. I didn't see Turning Red. If I saw Turning Red, I'd be able to debunk it. I don't know. See, I'm kind of drawn to the Mario Galaxy movie one, but I was going to do a CinemaSins stream and I was going to talk about the Mario Galaxy movie, and I think that one would be more fun. But you said that this is like an incel channel, so like he might be more fun for Mario Galaxy movie. What is CinemaSins? Maybe if I could find a replacement for what I want to cover with CinemaSins. Because I'm planning a CinemaSins stream. But I don't have a lot of great ones. Everything wrong with Obsession. He did everything wrong with the Moana trailers. Everything wrong with Yes Man. I don't. Everything wrong with the entire Fast and Furious franchise. You know, my brother has seen every Fast and Furious movie. I think I should watch them, right? And then respond to this entire almost 4-hour video. How does that sound, guys? I watch every Fast and Furious movie and I debunk CinemaSins Fast and Furious 3-hour compilation. Almost 4-hour compilation. You're selling yourself short, CinemaSins. Are you aware of the Everything Wrong with CinemaSins series? No, I have not heard of that. That sounds like a thing, though. I more so would discuss what's like the social consequences of CinemaSins. Yeah, I don't have one that I mean, CinemaSins does like movies. So like maybe you think CinemaSins will do well? How late are they to the party? Like CinemaSins, they go way after the movies actually come out, right? Like they're not really on it. Like 3 weeks ago, Mercy. Weren't people talking about Mercy like months ago? Or like Obsession was 11 days ago. When did Obsession come out? I don't know. I'm surprised CinemaSins is actually still kicking. Yeah. They still get... I mean, their backlog is probably just ginormous. Everything Wrong with the Amazing Spider-Man in 2 minutes or less. That was the first CinemaSins video? That's odd. That is not what I would have thought would have been their first video. Everything Wrong with the Room. Their most popular video is Everything Wrong with CinemaSins in 3 minutes. That's crazy that would be their most popular. A meta video is their most popular. 2012 is their most popular. That's actually a movie review. That is not what I would have expected. Yeah, the rest of them aren't that crazy. Thank you to Bewilder for the $2. 2 gold doubloons. Thank you. The Room is just easy pickings. It was back when it was popular, though. Like it was. I think CinemaSins was actually a pretty early criticizer of The Room. Like when The Room was getting popular, what was this, 13 years ago? That would have been 2013. Like when, like I know The Room actually came out in like 2003, but like when The Room was really big and being discussed on YouTube, CinemaSins I think was actually a pretty big part of that. And like cinema, like the criticisms of The Room, like because that's kind of what The Room is you just criticize all the like weird things that happen. I got a goat trophy for 1,000 jewels. Well, thank you, Versatile Floof. We should do The Room one then. I don't feel like I'd have much to say about The Room one because I feel like I just agree with him. All right. Do we want to do? We want to do Alex Myers. We want to talk about Alex Myers. Sure. I gotta make a thumbnail though. Uh, um. All right, I got about an hour and a half before my throat starts to really hurt. I try to keep my streams under. Let me get my Photoshop ready. Let's see. What should I do? Just a simple thumbnail. Maybe I'll make a more. Maybe I'll go off of this one. What's the deal? What's the deal with this guy? I'll just put me there. And let's see. I guess that looks fine just for a stream. And then I guess I could just do a thing of the thumbnails. Yeah, and then if I just blur it, it'll like... I might do a different thumbnail by whatever conclusions I end up drawing. That came out weird. What is going on with that? So this... Why is everything blue? Ah, there we go. Alright, and then blur it. If I make his icon a little more like that. Usually I make them circles. Sure, whatever. We'll go with that. I'll probably make a better one later. Yeah, that's fine. What's his name? Alex Myers? Alright. What is the problem with Alex Myers? Okay. Sure. All right. Cool. Could also do one of the Toy Story ones? Yeah, maybe. All right. Okay, so someone requested that I look at this Alex Myers fellow. I don't really know who he is. I think I've seen the thumbnails like around. I don't think I've ever seen a video. People were mad at this dude because of a review of Obsession, where I haven't seen Obsession, so I don't really know the whole deal. Some people said that it was like weird that he like related to the bad guy in Obsession or something. I don't know. I didn't see that video. I can't really speak to it. But I've been told that this is a good thing for me to cover because it's kind of like, I guess, surface level takes of pop culture that get a lot of views. So we'll just see. What is like the most popular video? Descendants doesn't make any sense. 7 years ago. Descendants doesn't make any sense. So I guess that does make sense to have that be a video. Home Alone 2 literally makes no sense. Descendants 2 doesn't make any sense. Okay, so I can already kind of tell from the convention doesn't make any sense is that I would have to guess that perhaps it discusses like leaps in logic as an issue. But why don't we get into a recent one? Let's do Super Mario Galaxy movie. Let's see what this guy has to say about Super Mario Galaxy movie. I also have a video on the Super Mario Galaxy movie. I had some very strong opinions on it. I thought that it wasn't very good. I thought that it was disappointing that you take a big franchise with a lot of recognizable characters and a unique world like Mario and you just don't tell a good story with it. I think that that's really unfortunate. Let's see if this dude has something similar to say. What are we even doing anymore? Perhaps he agrees with me. Perhaps he agrees with me. The avatar is pretty bland. Yeah. Yeah, it is. I mean, it's like... Yeah. I'm surprised he's this popular with that avatar, to be honest. It's a very low personality kind of character. It doesn't like it kind of like doesn't look like a person. It's like kind of a blob. Yeah, I don't think it's very good. All right. Let's see what it got to say.
Okay, so
Okay.
Okay, so remember the Mario movie? Like the first one, I mean? I saw it day one in theaters. I remember it being fine.
Oh, so they got like little animations in their thing. I mean, that takes a lot more effort. Like, you have to do a lot of extra stuff to have little animations in there.
It's a very generic story about Mario dealing with his daddy issues. He hates mushrooms for some reason. Bowser was kind
That was a weird cut.
of fine. It's a very generic story about Mario dealing with his daddy issues. He hates mushrooms.
It was like a half-second cut right there in the first 8 seconds. That's odd. I feel like you'd have a lot more production value if you're like animating your guy. That you would just mess that up so quick in the beginning. Could be an honest mistake.
For some reason, Bowser was kind of funny, I guess. You know, it was a serviceable movie. But the graphics are so good, Alex! Yes, thank you. But oh my goodness, I did not know how good we had it until the second one came out.
Okay. So he's saying that the first Mario movie was not great, so the criticism was what?
kind of funny, I guess. You know, it was a service story about Mario dealing with his daddy issues. He hates mushrooms for some
Story about Mario dealing with his daddy issues, hates mushrooms for some reason.
reason. Bowser was kind of funny, I guess. You know, it was a serviceable movie.
Bowser was kind of funny, I guess. It was a serviceable movie. So, okay, so I guess like, yeah, so I could see that being a description of what it is. Because that is kind of the closest thing to Mario having an arc, was the whole like daddy issues thing. And also you're talking, it's not the main subject of the movie. It's not the main subject of the video. Like, this video is not about the Mario movie, the first Mario movie. So I could get that it's, I could understand that, what I can say. I could understand that it doesn't say that much about the first one.
But the graphics are so good, Alex. Yes, thank you. But oh my goodness.
It's a bit obnoxious, a bit not my speed for how I would, but the references were so good. Oh, is it like straw man? Is that what it's supposed to be? Is that what this is supposed to portray? Like, it's a straw man saying, someone saying, but the references were so good?
I did not know how good we had it until the
So he's saying I did not know how good we had it with the first Mario movie until the second movie came out.
second one came out. Like,
Is this a common take about the second one? I kind of thought that the second one wasn't as, would I even call the second one worse than the first one? I think that they were pretty close in terms of shallowness. I guess the second one you could say is worse because it was just so into the spectacle that, like, I guess nothing came through. So from a surface level, you could probably feel like the first one did more. I could see that. But I think it's a bit, I think what I'm seeing with this kind of thing is that it's prioritizing a lot of exaggeration. Like, we did not know how good we had it until this one. Like, it's just a way of framing it. It's not so bad.
we went from this very generic paint-by-numbers movie to basically like a 90-minute commercial. It's just a kid's movie, Alex. What did you expect? Citizen Kane? Nah, I mean, I was just expecting, you know, like an actual movie. No, I mean, okay.
When someone says something you disagree with, but they say it in the most annoying way, you don't want to agree. Yeah. Well, also that's not debunking. So, okay, so it just said an argument that I hear a lot that I hate this argument. Like, so like I'm on this person's side with this.
Paint-by-numbers movie to basically like a 90-minute commercial. It's just a kid's movie, Alex. What did you expect? Citizen Kane? Nah.
So I actually do see that. Like, I've seen literally that argument. I've seen people say, why do you think that SpongeBob should be Titanic? Or why do you think that SpongeBob should be the insert prolific movie? So I have actually seen that. So this person's probably also seen that. So that's probably why they're repeating it.
I mean, I was just expecting, you know, like an actual movie. No, I mean,
I was expecting, like, an actual movie. So yeah, so like that's not an argument. Like, that is very surface level, but you have to actually debunk that. So when someone is saying, so this is a common problem with like just any sort of argument of anything, is someone else said, "Oh, it's just a kids movie," and you said, "Yeah, but I think it should have been good movie." But you're not saying why that matters. So I think that something that is kind of missing from, and again, this is probably not the only person who makes this mistake. It's probably very common. But I think what's missing from some analysis like that is that, like, my response to that is not, oh, but like it should have been good or this. Like, my response to that would be, why do you think kids deserve bad media? That is my response when someone says, oh, it's just a kids movie, or oh, it's just a kids show. Why do you think kids deserve bad media? Like, why do you think kids are stupid? It's really that simple of a response. But also, yeah.
Okay, so like with all things, it totally depends on your point of view and what you're looking for. Do you happen to be looking for a 90-minute Mario music video? Then this is perfect for you. The Mario Galaxy movie is fine. Personally, I didn't really like it all that much, but there are some things that I think I did kind of like a little bit. But more than that, I just feel like this movie is the latest symptom of a much bigger problem that we have going on. But I'll get more into that later. So for now, let's check out the Super Mario Galaxy movie with my new friend Jonathan Strawman. The Mario
Oh, it is supposed to be a straw man. Okay. I got what he was going for. So that was a bit of. All right. So in a lot of ways, it's kind of solid. It's
music video, then this is perfect for you. The Mario.
So like I would say that these are very common issues, like the thing with like the addressing the guy who said it's just a kids movie. Like, I don't expect every channel to immediately know the perfect argument for that off the top of their head, so I'm not gonna like lose my mind over it. But
Mario Galaxy movie is fine. Personally, I don't really like it all that much, but there are some things that
there's definitely a lot of so I noticed this
90-minute Mario music video, then this is perfect for you. The Mario Galaxy movie is fine. Personally, I didn't really like it all that much, but there are some things that I think I did kind of like a little bit. But more than that, I just feel like this movie is the latest symptom of a much bigger problem that we.
So, I mean, that's a thesis. I feel like this movie is the symptom of a much bigger problem. Means that there's a thesis that it's going into in the movie. Or in the video. The video has a specific thesis, so I think that's fine. Let's just get into what the actual video is.
Strawman. The Mario Galaxy movie starts out with a new character, Rosalina. But before that, really quick, this video is sponsored by Raycon.
Of course it is. Get out of here.
Enough. Thank you, Raycon.
Once upon a time, there was a brave and noble prince
Pacifier, does that mean
named Peach.
Okay, wait, hold on. Back up a second. So if this Luma is sucking on a pacifier, does that mean that Luma's breastfeed? This opens.
Oh, okay. So he's stealing a joke from Reddit. Cool. That's not criticism. That's a joke he found on Reddit. Like, how do you even do that? Like, because because there was like a post on Reddit. Like, it just said, so how do you, I just can't imagine sitting down and writing into a script a joke that I clearly saw somewhere else and passing it off as my own. I just can't imagine doing that.
Up a whole new world of fan art, I'll tell you that. She reads them a bedtime story, and then Bowser Jr. attacks her in his giant robot. It seems like.
Yeah.
Rosalina has the upper hand, but then Bowser Jr. goes for the baby Lumas as a distraction and kidnaps Rosalina because she's nothing without her magic wand.
So there's a lot of like padding, right? Feels very paddy. So he says it opens on the Lumas. So let's see if there's more like padding. It just seems like he just explained a lot that wasn't really necessary, and there's a lot of footage.
No one hurts my kid.
So much footage.
Go.
How much of this footage are you gonna play?
What's going on? Mario and Luigi, she can just do that, I guess. This movie.
Go.
Never mind. So she can just do that, I guess. This movie are very clearly presented to us. While this is going.
Wait, what is it saying? Did it just say? I'm confused. What was the criticism there?
Baby Lumas as a distraction and kidnaps Rosalina because she's not the upper hand, but she reads them a bedtime story. Does that mean that
Peach.
Okay, wait, hold on. Back up a second. So if this Luma is sucking on a pacifier, does that mean that
so he steals a joke from Reddit?
Luma's breastfeed? This opens up a whole new world of fan art, I'll tell you that. She reads them a bedtime story, and then Bowser Jr. attacks her in his giant robot. It seems like Rosalina has the upper hand, but then Bowser Jr. goes for the baby Lumas as a distraction and kidnaps Rosalina because she's nothing without her magic wand.
Yeah, there was a lot of like details. Like, do you need to say Bowser Jr. attacks with a giant robot? Like, do you need to say he attacks the baby Lumas as a distraction? Like, why don't you just say it starts with Rosalina getting kidnapped? Like, that would save you so much time. Like, hold on, let's find my video on it. So, like, if you look at mine, the Mario Galaxy movie is Everything Wrong with Movies. The Super Mario movie was outsided the movie by Kite and what characters in the movie. I would say Lena. The obviously. And examine what this movie did right and what it did wrong. So one way that I did my Mario Galaxy movie video is you'll see Chapter 1 Rosalina. And it's because every chapter was about a different character or like characters. Like I think I did Mario and Luigi in one. So I discussed each, instead of going through the plot, which I felt would have been kind of repetitive, like it would have just, instead of just going through the plot, which I felt would have been too recappy, like I'm just going like, here's what's wrong with the first scene, here's what's wrong with the second scene. I actually had a broader thesis about how each character was used like incorrectly. Is my how I did the video. Rosalina. Of all the characters in the movie, I would say that the one that behaved the most opposite to what I expected was Rosalina. First off, she was barely in the movie. I mean, she had less screen time than Fox, and he's not even in this franchise. The reason that she was in so little of the movie is because her role was relegated to damsel in distress. Well, so notice how I just said the reason she was in so little of the movie is because her role was relegated to damsel in distress. Notice how I didn't say the movie starts with Rosalina reading to the Lumas. Ha, stolen Reddit joke. Then she gets attacked by a giant robot. Then the robot tries to attack the Lumas. Then she gets kidnapped. Like, I just say she was a damsel in distress because that's the actual thing that I'm criticizing, because I understand the element of the movie that I am being critical of. I'm not critical of the fact that Rosalina was attacked by a giant robot. That would have been fine if the movie was well written. So why would I need to even bring it up? So I just think it's odd. And I think that this is just the product of just not being a very skilled reviewer. I don't think it's like no villains are safe here. And maybe this person is a very skilled reviewer in a lot of ways. I mean, I've only watched 2 minutes and 30 seconds of a video of theirs. It's a bit of a harsh condemnation from seeing so little. But, I do think that does speak to like, what am I saying with this movie? I don't know. Let's just like describe some more stuff than we need to.
And kidnaps Rosalina because she's nothing without her magic wand.
Okay, so he says she's nothing without her magic wand. He puts in way too much footage that I don't know how he didn't get copyrighted for, and shows like Rosalina blows up a bunch of the guys when she gets kidnapped and taken to the Bowser planet. She blows up a bunch of things with like no magic wand. Was it established that her magic wand was the source of her power? I feel like she just is powerful. Don't they like lock her in a thing for the movie where she can't use her powers to get out? Like, isn't that kind of the point?
Never mind. So she can just do that, I guess. This movie are very clearly presented to us. While this is going on, Mario and Luigi...
What did that say? What was that even phrasing?
So she can just do that, I guess. This movie are very clearly presented to us.
This movie or very clearly presented to us. Okay, I don't know what that means. So she could just do that, I guess. Are you saying that she should have been able to escape because she had like magic powers? Again, you're just focusing on the wrong things. You're focusing on this, like, first of all, no, like she can. This is the Eagles in Lord of the Rings. It's like people misunderstood what I meant when I talked about why saying that why can't the eagles fly Frodo to Mordor is media illiterate. It is media illiterate in two ways. It's that, one, you are ignoring the actual text of the story, which is the eagles literally can't take him to Mordor beforehand because he has the ring, and the ring would tempt the eagles. That's the textual reason. So you're ignoring that, and you're trying to find this logical inconsistency while ignoring the point of the story. So both of those things work together. Neither one works without the other. If that actually was a logical inconsistency, the eagles taking them to Mordor or Rosalina being able to escape, if that actually was a logical inconsistency, of course that would be a problem with the story. It would make the story harder to swallow because the story wouldn't make as much sense, and you wouldn't be able to believe the story, and the suspension of disbelief would be shattered, and then you're not engaging with the lessons and all that yada yada yada. So an issue with, but the other bigger issue I think with this kind of media analysis is that you are looking for a logical inconsistency. So like Alex Myers watched this movie and could feel that there was something wrong with it, because there is something wrong with it. I watched my video on it. There's a lot wrong with the Mario Galaxy movie. But I think he struggled to really put into words what was wrong with it, with that story stuff, because it's hard to put that all into words and understand what it is. But he just knew that there was something wrong with it. So with that, he's looking for criticisms. Now he's in criticism mode. He's in, I need to find things wrong with it. And that's where we get into CinemaSins territory. That's where we get into, wait, Rosalina could blow up all these guys? Well, why didn't she do it before? It's like, well, they had her in a thing where she was all locked up with her hands, and then, yeah, she broke out of it, but it was because they were attacking the Luma, so there was an adrenaline. Like, it all makes sense. It's fine. Like, sure, maybe it makes a little bit of a stretch. It's like, oh, if she had all these powers the whole time, sure, whatever. But like, I think that the movie actually made an effort to make that make sense. So to put it in the video as a criticism that is on par with what his thesis was, which was, there is a real issue with movies these days, and the Mario Galaxy movie is a symptom of that. The whole it not making sense that they captured Rosalina because she's strong, that doesn't really unless that is your thesis, which I don't think it is. I'm sure the thesis will be more elegant than that. But yeah.
Go! Never mind. So she can just do that. Motorcycles, and they find Yoshi inside an old pyramid from Mario Odyssey. What?
Who is this? Yoshi.
Who could resist that fate?
So much footage.
Okay, I actually thought this line was kind of funny. And that's one of the most...
Okay, so they said they find Yoshi from Mario Odyssey, and he made kind of a quip about how Mario Odyssey... It's weird that it's Odyssey when it's Galaxy movie. Yeah. And then he puts in a very long clip of a thing where Yoshi eats the candy apple, and then he says, what?
Yoshi.
Who could resist that face?
So some cool dinosaur just shows up and he's now part of the group.
Okay, I actually thought this line was kind of funny. And that's one of the...
You thought that line was kind of funny? The most generic, that just happened moment. Like, okay, like, I don't think it's the worst line in the world. Like, I don't think it's like unbearably cringe or something, but like, I don't think I would look at that line that is the most like sitcom-y, well, dinosaurs your friend now, and go, that line, to the point where I would like point it out. Like, that's just saying things to say things, you know? Like, I think what that is he knew he had to address, because he's going in order, and he feels like every major plot point he has to say a thing about. But, like, if you don't have anything to say about Yoshi, you could just not really talk about Yoshi. Like, it's fine. Or if you don't have anything to say about, like, them finding Yoshi, like, it's fine. Like, I had a section in my video about Yoshi, And I kind of like discussed how Yoshi wasn't really used very well in the movie, and he was kind of like just thrown in, and it was kind of an indication of how there should have been a Super Mario World movie in between, and then that would have focused on Yoshi, and then he could have been more suited as a character who takes more of a backseat in the Mario Galaxy movie. That was kind of my take on Yoshi. But just being like, yeah, the Mario Brothers find Yoshi. It's weird that they use Odyssey, already common, not a unique thought. And this one line was funny. Like, that's the extent of the analysis that we're getting here.
The most frustrating parts of this movie is that there's these tiny kernels of like a really funny idea or a joke or whatever, but like
wait, you're using that as an example of a tiny kernel of a really funny idea or a joke? No, man, it's a sitcom that just happened moment. What are you talking about?
you can tell that much like Disney, Nintendo takes its IP like way too seriously to fully embrace the like self-aware humor, Like if you compare this to the Sonic movies, for example, not that these are
I mean, that was an actual take, at least. Where's my watcher? Oh. Oh, it's right there.
embrace the like self-aware humor, Like if you compare this to the Sonic movies, for example, not that these are masterpieces by any definition, but like they're actually funny, competent movies with like stakes and emotional character arcs. And the fact that Sega is so flexible with its characters is a big reason why these movies are actually pretty good.
I don't think that's the case. No, I think that I kind of get the spirit of what he's saying there. And I do agree that the Sonic movies actually did have character arcs and a story, and the Mario movies don't, and that is a problem. But I don't know if that's why. It could be. What was his argument?
The Sonic movies, for example, not that these are masterpieces by any definition, but like they're actually funny, competent movies with like stakes and emotional character arcs. And the fact that Sega is so flexible with its characters is a big reason why these movies are actually pretty good.
So the fact that might be true. Yeah, that might be true. Yeah, because Mario has to be stagnant. No, that's a correct take. I think I agree with that. I thought he was going to say that the Sonic movies are funnier and more self-referential just because Sonic is more like, but I do think that might actually be a part of it. Yeah, I think he's right.
Good.
We have a lot more, which I think we'll probably put in the DVD. Yeah. Shadow loves Latinas. That's that we found a place for in the movie.
Give me back my passport! Why do you want to go to Mexico?
I just love
Let's actually bring up a point that's
Sonic.
Gosh, Alex, all you do is hate everything. Your life must be so sad. This does actually bring up a point that's related to all this.
Toxic positivity. I use that term.
There's probably a much better term for this, but I don't know what that is. So I've been doing these videos for almost 10 years now, right? And I've really noticed a big change on the internet in the last couple of them. Criticizing movies or media in general has been around since forever, okay? But like recently, I've seen this weird push where all criticism of media in general is just brushed aside like, you're just being a hater. You didn't understand the material. You must have been on your phone the whole time. I made a video about Bridgerton season 4 and how I didn't really like how it wrapped up. And the most common response was like, this is for the girlies, Alex. It's not for you. And like,
this is for the girlies. This is not for you. All right, I don't know what this show is.
Wrapped up. And the most common response
I don't know what this show is. But I don't know what I don't know what
was like, this is for the girlies, Alex. It's not for you. And like,
this is for the girlies, Alex. This is not for you. So someone was saying that the obsession thing was like misogyny, right? People were saying that. I don't know that much about this person, so it's hard for me to really make a judgment. I just because I do this sort of thing where I do talk about people.
A video about Bridgerton season 4 and how I didn't really like how it wrapped up. And the most common response was like, "This is for the girlies, Alex."
And the most common response was the most common response, like to the whole video. I gotta see. I gotta check then. I gotta check what the actual comments are. Bridgerton. So that Bridgerton. Okay, Bridgerton season 4 finale.
Well,
I don't know a lot about this show. So, but I just want to see if it's accurate that it was this. I just want to see if it's accurate. I don't know a lot about Bridgerton, but I just want to see if it's accurate that most of the comments were this one is for the girlies, and maybe try to see if that is an accurate representation of what was being said. I don't really see anything. I don't really see anything that fits either. I don't see anything that's this one was for the girlies or. People are just saying disagree, but that's not an argument. I'm trying to find what is the. If it's the most common response was this one is for the girlies, I don't see a lot of it. This video should be titled "Tell me you didn't really watch the show without telling me you didn't watch the show." Again, I don't know. I don't know the show. I don't know this video, so I don't know if this person's correct. People are mad that he compared it to Riverdale. That's the most common response actually to this particular video is people are mad he compared it to Riverdale, another show I didn't watch. About the uninteresting happy ending, this is based on romance novels, and even though they obviously changed so many details, the show is still at its core a sappy romance. It's not meant to be interesting or thought-provoking. It's supposed to be a pretty show that you watch while eating ice cream and chocolate. But I do agree Sophie and Benedict's ending was rushed and really stupid, lol. Yeah, I think that this... I mean, it doesn't say this was for the girlies, as he put it. But this is like kind of a comment that I... Like, if I got a comment that was similar to this, I would probably have like some agreement, some disagreement. Like, I think that things should be pretty much always interesting or thought-provoking. But at the same time... there is a place for something that is like a sappy romance. Like, I think that there is, like, I do think that there's a place in the world for like rom-coms. Like, I think that like there is a valid place for like a movie that is a rom-com where you just sit and you enjoy the relationship between the two people. And I do think that that is a valid story. I think that still tells a story. It still has character arcs. It still has lessons. It still has things that matters. So I think that this commenter is probably under the impression that something being a sappy romance is at odds with it being interesting or thought-provoking, when actually those things are not at odds. It can be both of those things. Like, I think that this is definitely a bit of a shallow take, but there is a correctness to holding something that is supposed to be a rom-com or a sappy romance to a standard that it shouldn't be held to. So this might be perhaps what he's talking about, saying this is based on romance novels. Like, I feel like perhaps the whole conflation of this is for the girlies is going that this person is criticizing that this is based on romance novels, saying, oh, well, like the girlies like romance novels, and this person saying, oh, I don't get it because I don't read romance novels, when they aren't actually listening to the criticism that this person is trying to say that's good faith, and also understanding where this person is incorrect in their analysis. I'm sorry, did we even watch the same show? They're just saying it was good. I already know what this guy has to say. It's always the same. I watched the show in the background while I was doing other stuff, so I skipped all the important scenes for those characters' arcs or misunderstood them. It's the same with every show he watches, unfortunately. He'd be more fun. Oh, this seems like a common viewer. Do you think that's what's going on? Is that this dude doesn't pay enough attention to what he's watching? It must be hard to review a lot of TV shows. I mean, I only review a handful of stuff. Because it is true. I only want to review stuff if I really watch a lot of it. I guess that wouldn't exactly apply to his Mario Galaxy movie review. A movie's a little easier, but a TV show, you could have that issue. Where if you don't pay enough attention to it and then you review it, you could miss stuff. Like, it is a job, you know, and I think if you're under a lot of pressure to put out videos really often, especially on something like the 4th season of a show, like, I don't know. I'm starting to think you just don't like romance, LOL. Is this what he perceives as it was for the girlies? Again, I don't know, you know, I'm like, I don't see anything that really goes with this is for the girlies. Alex needs to realize that he's hating romance and comparing the show to Riverdale of all things. It's clear that romance is not his jam. Okay, so I think he's conflating girlies with liking romance. I think that that's what this is. Scrolling a lot of comments, I do not see one that really goes with what he's saying other than romance novels. I'm still giving him the benefit of the doubt. I'm still looking. I really am still looking. This season was a masterpiece. People just saying they liked the thing that he didn't like. There's got to be one person who says it was just for women. Right? There's got to be one person that fits the description that he said. Still going. Now I think I just have to look at all the comments to see. I will have to disagree with your analysis. Nope. Still going. Mad about a Riverdale comparison. I am reading every comment on a video about a show that I didn't watch. This is where we're at here. Still going. Still looking. I think what was missing in the romance. Nope, that's not. Nope. I don't care what anyone says. This was my favorite season. I feel like I could just call it, but I just keep looking at comments. I don't think we're going to find it. Should I just call it? I could call it here, right? So no one said the thing that he said. Right, no one said the thing that he said. All right. Okay. So
Alex, it's not for you. And like same thing, like how it wrapped up. And the most common response was like, this is for the girlies, Alex, it's not for you.
I just scrolled through maybe 400 comments. I just waded through so many comments. I did not see a single one that said anything like that. There was no, this is for the girlies, it's not for you. There was like 3 that said you just don't like romance plots. And I think he's conflating that with this is for the girlies, it's not for you with this. Like when I say in my videos, when I say that there were people who said it's just a kid's show, bro, and I was criticizing how people say it's just a kid's show, I'm literally thinking of actual comments I read when I say that. You know, like when I make that kind of statement of people say that. So yeah, that is odd. That is very odd.
I didn't really like how it wrapped up. And the most common response was like, this is for the girlies, Alex, it's not for you. And like same thing with the Mario Galaxy movie, where like the most common defense is like, it's a kid's movie, don't think too hard about it. It's just not for you.
That's funny because the thing that he was comparing it to was not what people said. But with the Mario Galaxy movie, that is a common response. Yes, I do. I don't know if it's the most common. I mean, I guess the most common disagreement. That's probably the most common disagreement. The most common response would be, I agree with you. Good video. That's the most common response that I get on most of my videos. But like, yeah, weird comparison.
I actually find these kind of arguments so bizarre. Like with girl movies or TV shows or whatever, it's like...
With girl movies or TV shows or whatever. Okay. All right. We're getting spicy. We're getting spicy here. All right. Just when I thought that this was going to be boring. When we get to girl movies.
There's been this push for decades to have them treated as the legitimate movies that they are. But then when someone like me comes along and views and criticizes them in the same vein as any other movies, suddenly it turns into, but I'm just a girl. And therefore, I should not view them as legitimate movies. Now with the...
Again, there was not a single comment that was like that. It literally just said, you don't like the romance genre. That's literally what it said. And again, like the romance genre can have things that are like legitimate storytelling things. Like I saw with my fiance, we went and saw, it was a chick flick. We saw You, Me, and Tuscany in the movie theater a little while ago because it was like what, around Valentine's Day or something? Yeah, it was like near Valentine's Day, so it was like kind of a cute thing. And we saw, when we watched the SpongeBob movie, we saw this ad for this rom-com, and it was like a couples thing. It was like, yeah, let's go see this rom-com. And of course it was cheesy. Of course there were parts of it that were silly and cheesy, and you could even analyze some of that stuff, like how, it was all about, like the fantasy of meeting a guy in Italy. That was the movie, but the movie had it had themes. It had a character arc. Like the main character in the movie was like overcoming like her own insecurities. Like she wanted to be a chef, and like, through meeting the love interest and the whole, the quirky, like it was like a whole thing where like she lied that she was engaged to a guy and she wasn't. It was a whole thing. Anyway, through like the love interest, through the story, there was like, that was a part of it. And like, so like, I think that kind of what is being like conflated here is that he is criticizing these movies that I guess would have more of a female target audience. Because like that movie that You, Me, and Tuscany, I'm sure that has more of a female target audience. I enjoyed it. I had a great time. I really did. I had a wonderful movie experience. I did. Would I have seen it if I wasn't in a relationship? Probably not. You know, but I did not like it. Like, you know, and the fact that I was there with my partner was like, you know, that was a part of it. It was like cute, and you know, we had a great time. And I think that what the problem is that, like, let's say I did a review on that movie, on You, Me, and Tuscany, but my review of the movie was just me pointing out like logical issues, like saying something like, how could, you know, saying, you know, just pointing out logical issues akin to how he pointed out the logical issue with Rosalina, you know, like these kind of surface level comparisons, and then saying from those surface level comparisons, the whole movie is trash without like giving an argument for that. That's kind of my assumption on how this goes. Again, I've seen 5 minutes of his one video. Like, you know, I am extrapolating a lot here, but you go from that and then you get these responses that are like, hey, like maybe you just didn't appreciate that it was a rom-com. And like, that's what I did when I saw You, Me, and Tuscany, is like, oh, I get it. The point of this movie is for someone to watch it and feel the romantic tension that the two main characters are feeling. And by the way, that is valuable. That has social good. There is a social benefit to watching a movie where people fall in love with each other because it examines the social interactions of people in love. That makes us better as people. Having romantic relationships makes society stronger because it's a way that people work together to live better lives, and en masse, that makes things better. That is the social function of a rom-com. That's why it exists. And when you have a rom-com where the characters get together at the end, the way that the characters get together is that they have to change. They have to be different people by the end of the movie when they actually get together, because if they didn't change throughout the movie, well, they wouldn't have gotten together. You have to change to get with anyone. That is a change. Being with someone is a change. So, so if you're someone who like doesn't resonate with that genre and you're criticizing it for other means, and people are telling you, no, you should give the genre a chance, it might come off as, oh, like it's just the girlies or whatever he said. Now, another problem is that I'm sure the commenters that argue this to Alex Myers, like as the ones we looked at, they just said, oh, you just don't like romance. But they didn't explain why. They didn't explain what I just said, why romance is a valuable kind of story. In fact, that one person I think was counter to that. They said, oh, well, like, yeah, it's just a romance story. Like, you just like turn your brain off and think like, haha, like I'm eating ice cream and watching the romance movie. And like that actually, that you're not making your case very well. You're actually giving ammunition to someone like this to argue against the existence of romance movies. They shouldn't argue against the existence of romance movies, because romance movies are fine, as a concept, but you're just kind of furthering this divide by not really understanding that like, you shouldn't be arguing, oh, romance movies don't have value and that's okay. You should be arguing romance movies have value. They're a little lighter than most other movies that you might be used to, but they have value, and this is the value. That is the kind of argument that a person like this cannot debunk, because there really is no argument against this. Or they'll just not debunk it, and then they'll go, but the girlies, like, because that's sometimes what people do when they're given evidence that they're wrong and they don't want to admit it. But yeah, like, this discussion just got interesting.
Mario movies also, it's kind of the same thing where like somehow this movie being for kids means that we should expect it to be garbage, and wishing for anything else is just, you know, grown man upset about kids movie. It's all part of this.
he's identifying the problem, but he's not identifying the real reason why. Let's see if he does.
really confusing trend I see where like critical thinking and internalizing the media we consume is like frowned upon now. There's this social
Frowned upon now. That this has always been a problem. This is a gross frame. I don't want to say on it. Frowned upon now. Is it a particular problem now? I think this has always been a problem. I think it's just that the internet didn't exist before. But people always said this. I'm pretty sure people have always said this. In fact, it probably used to be worse. If I had to guess. Because I know, I guess one comparison I could draw it to is that there was a time where television was considered like worse, way worse than movies. Like nowadays, being a movie star is probably still considered being better than like a TV star. But like nowadays with prestige television, there's like, oh, that's a television show that is taken really seriously. But there was a time where it was like, if you were an actor or if you were in Hollywood, it was like two tiers. It was like your movies or your TV, and they were like very far apart from each other. And then bigger shows like Lost or Breaking Bad or The Sopranos, they broke they broke through that belief, and they broke that standard. And I think that's also kind of similar to this with like kids stuff. So I don't know why he's saying now. Now is weird. Now is thinking that so like it's now to him because he's been a professional YouTuber for, as he said, 10 years. Like he wasn't around 20 years ago because he was probably a kid. This person's probably close to my age, if I had to guess. But he wasn't there 20 years ago, like really understanding the nuances of the media landscape to the point where he can really make a judgment that there is something that is making people now defend this kind of mediocrity. Whereas defending mediocrity was always the problem, and it's just allowing mediocrity to fester, if that makes sense.
I see where like critical thinking and internalizing the media we consume is like frowned upon now. There's this social pressure to just like consume without thinking. Like just fill your time. This movie took my attention away from my phone for 90 minutes. That means it's good.
Oh, anyway, back to the movie. So that was the toxic positivity section? Yeah, that wasn't enough. Toxic like if I were to say something similar about toxic positivity towards the Mario movie. So look, he stated a problem, but he didn't state why. He didn't state why. He didn't say why this happens. Like, so the reason that people say it's just a kid's movie, like it's not that deep. Like the reason that people say this is because I think it's rooted in insecurity. Like, I think that's why people say, oh, it's just for kids, it's not that deep. I think it's rooted in an insecurity. I think it's rooted in someone feeling bad that they don't have the same critical eye for media that the person that they're watching does, and they deflect by saying, well, it's just for kids, because they don't have an actual defense. Because there really kind of isn't one. Now, at the same time, I don't think that there's anything wrong with like that someone enjoyed like the Mario movie or enjoys modern SpongeBob. I think like that's fine. Because there are things about it that you enjoy where it's like, oh, like you liked seeing the voice acting performances or the characters moving on screen, or like even some of the moments could have been good. Like it's just that as a whole, it failed as a product. And the reviewer is pointing that out, and you didn't think that when you watched it. And that makes you feel insecure. So you go into this, it's just for kids, when you don't have a real argument. When really what it should be is, don't feel bad. There's nothing wrong with that you enjoyed something, and try to actually engage with the criticism that is being levied at the thing, and maybe you'll be able to come out of it in, you'll be able to come out of it being able to learn those things that you didn't understand that made you not able to identify them in the first place. Another reason I think that there is this sort of toxic positivity is that I think that we just want things to be good. Like, I felt this when I watched the Mario Galaxy movie. When I sat in the theater, I really wanted it to be good. I didn't want it to be bad just so I could make a video about it that was sensationalist. Like, I really didn't. Like, I saw the new SpongeBob movie back in December, and I remember that it was good and I enjoyed it. And the thing that I thought when I walked out after having enjoyed it is, oh man, my video on this movie is not going to get as many views because I liked it. Like, I literally thought that as I was leaving. But I still was so glad to see a SpongeBob movie that came out last year, had a good story, that it was enjoyable, that it was that I thought that it was a successful product. Like, that meant a lot to me, you know? And I think with the Mario Galaxy movie, that would have meant a lot to me too if that were a good product. Of course it wasn't, and I am objective to the point where I'd be able to figure that out. But I think a lot of people aren't that objective. I think that they really wanted it to be good, so they latch on to those parts that were good, and they also need to find a reason to be okay with it being bad. And this It's Just for Kids, I think, helps them rationalize that. And it allows them to enjoy the existence of this movie, because visualizing a better world is hard. You know, like visualizing a media landscape where the Mario movies are good and how we would get there is very difficult. Just accepting that it's just a kids movie, these are how kids movies are, is easy. And I think that's why people want to do it. And I think that just saying, there's this trend where people go, it's just a kids movie, and then not really, and just animating them with a funny face and then not really getting into why people feel that way, I think is just not productive.
So later on at Peach's birthday party, one of the Lumas that escaped Bowser Jr.'s ship lands in Peach's castle.
Princess, or Gary.
To do whatever.
Oh yeah, I forgot he was doing like a ton of recapping.
Whatever this little guy just said. Meanwhile, Mario and Luigi are tasked with taking care of the Mushroom Kingdom and watching over Bowser, who's been shrunk down via one of those like annoying mini blue mushrooms.
I made a...
One of those annoying mini blue mushrooms. Oh, that's actually kind of funny. Wait, that's so funny. Wait, this is, as a Mario player, that is so funny. That is so funny what kind of a self-report this just was. I have to explain for anyone who's never played New Super Mario Bros. How funny that. I have to explain for anyone who's never played New Super Mario Bros. How funny that is.
With taking care of the Mushroom Kingdom and watching over Bowser, who's been shrunk down via one of those like annoying mini blue mushrooms.
Who's been shrunk down by one of those annoying mini blue mushrooms? Who's been shrunk down via one of those annoying mini blue mushrooms is such a self-report. He literally just admitted that he's bad at New Super Mario Bros. He just admitted that he's bad at the game because a mini mushroom. So here's how mini mushrooms work in New Super Mario Bros. A mini mushroom turns Mario mini. It turns him really small. And when you're mini, you can you jump really high, and you can slip through stuff. You know, you're less likely to get hit by enemies because you're so small. But also you die in one hit because you're mini. You don't have a power up. You don't have another power up that keeps you from dying. So you're much more likely to die, and you can't kill enemies unless you ground pound them, which is you press down as you're on top of an enemy, and Mario has to he goes down really fast, and that's the only way you can kill enemies. So if you are a bit of a noob at New Super Mario Bros, you would hate the mini mushroom. You would not want to go around with the mini. When I was a little kid, the mini mushroom, there's certain secret exits and pipes that you can only go in if you have a mini mushroom. So if you need to get a certain star coin, you might need a mini mushroom. So you have to be mini, and the challenge is to get to the spot as Mini Mario. So when I was a kid, I would be oh no, I would die so easily. I can't kill the enemies. Oh, that's awful. But when you're good at the game, the mini mushroom is actually something that makes you like better at the game because you're faster, you can float in the air with the platforming. If you're really good at dodging enemies and you can time your ground pounds, the mini mushroom, when you get it, you can keep it through multiple levels. Like I was actually playing New Super Mario Bros. Wii. I was replaying it with my fiance, and I got a mini mushroom, and I like kept it through levels, and I was like flying through the levels with the mini mushroom because I'm good at the game. So it's just so funny that he called it annoying because it means that he's bad at the game. I don't know. I just kind of wanted to roast him a little bit for that by calling the mini mushroom annoying. It's just kind of funny.
I made a masterpiece for Princess Peach.
Why are you showing the footage that everyone saw in the trailer? Are you gonna let's see if he's actually let's see if this is a part of the criticism.
What do you think?
The criticism I'd give you is it's trash.
Well, that is ironic for you to say, Mario.
I'm gonna hit
I mean, I guess he had a. I guess that was kind of a statement from it. It's kind of just a random joke, but I do think it's odd too. Also, it's a joke everyone's made. Like this is another Reddit thing. Like you've seen that on Reddit where it's like critics of the Mario Galaxy movie and it's Mario saying it's trash. Like it's been said before. It's very unoriginal. Like I again, like I just can't picture myself like putting together a Mario Galaxy movie video and putting in extended footage that was in the trailer that everyone saw and then just making a common Reddit joke. I just can't wrap my head around it.
the sack. I need my 8 hours or else I really turn into a monster.
So right after
Is this no villains are safe? Why is there all this footage? You're like a 4 million subscriber channel. Are you serious? Channels this big just put in that over amount of footage? No wonder people like complain about like copyright. Like, I'm sorry, like there are times where, you know, and I'm saying this just as I was dealing with the Ozzy Fox stuff. I had my first video ever get blocked because of copyright, and it's because of Ozzy Fox's nonsense. Trying to like quell like misinformation. I was reporting on it, how it used AI and all that. It was the whole thing, this whole drama. But anyway, like YouTubers complain like all the time. They're like, like these big companies are silencing my criticism of their movies because they're copywriting me. It's like, I don't know, man. Maybe if you use like 6 seconds, maybe if you use like 8 seconds of a joke that you didn't write and then go, I thought that joke was kind of funny. I don't know. Maybe you deserve to get copyrighted. Maybe you are taking someone else's intellectual property and passing it off as your own at that point. Like, you know, but you know, there's no meaningful way to go after extended uses of footage without going after someone like me. So like, I don't think that it should get that cracked down on, because I'd be pretty afraid of the actual consequences of that. Because that could harm like genuine reviews. So like they're gonna keep getting away with it, but I think I'm just gonna criticize that, you know, person to person. Like if you're making a channel, you should only put in the footage that's like absolutely necessary.
this, Bowser Jr. shows up at the Mushroom Kingdom to fight Mario and get his dad back. And I will say, the fight scene here is pretty cool, but like, I guess I'm just in like a really tiny minority.
The fight scene here is really cool. What's cool about it? What's cool about it? What is it? What does it do? Can you examine the fight scene? Can you say more than it's really cool? Because that's not really analysis.
Of people who don't really care about like, whoa, look at the graphics. Like for a long time now, CG movies have looked really good. I mean, you can see the texture on their hat and you can see every single mustache hair, but like, this just means nothing to me. Like, no joke, I would rather have 10 more movies like Monster House, assuming they have the same level of writing and characters and humor and all that.
Put up some art. Well, Dad, why don't you kiss my hairy butt? Hey, DJ, got any beer?
Then that must be the uvula.
Okay, now they're just stealing jokes from Monster House. But okay, so it's like kind of a cold take. Like, again, this is like, everyone says this. Oh yeah, I'd rather have a movie that doesn't look as good, but is better written than a movie that really looks good than a movie that really looks good and is not well written. Everyone says this. Like, I why are you passing this off like you're the first man who ever had this thought? Like, you know, like I get it. Like in every review and every video, if you're talking for 20 minutes, I'm sure you can nitpick some of my videos where it's like, yeah, you said something that is, everyone says this, that is always surface level, you know, like, or not surface level. You said something that a lot of other people have said too. Like I said, I just did a video on the Moana live action remake, and a central part of that video was about how the live action characters, like something like Tamatoa in the Moana live action, does not read as well as the animated Tamatoa for like so many different reasons of suspension of disbelief. I am not the only person who has said this. I am not the only person who has said this about Moana. I'm not the only person who has I am not the only person who has said this about Disney live action remakes. It's a very common thing that people say. However, I went really in depth with that and tried to identify the reason why this happens and ways that it could get fixed and all this sort of stuff. I think I had a lot of unique stuff on top of that criticism that everyone already knows. And also, it was just within a video that had a lot of other stuff to say. Like, when every single take you have is either, this fight scene looked cool, that joke was funny, this doesn't make any sense that Rosalina could do this. Like, when every criticism you have for 6.5 minutes is surface level, there's really not much that we can take from this. I don't know. I'll just see if its thesis that it set up in the beginning that I thought was a good thesis. Let's see if that comes to pass.
Assuming they have the same level of writing and characters and humor and all that.
Put up some art. Be the use a girl.
You've been doing so great, but thought you might need a hand.
Man, we never see Yoshi's cloaca. How am I ever going to get my money?
Ew. I'd rather him steal jokes from Reddit. It's also like kind of trying to like be gross, you know, like it started with the breastfeeding thing, and now it's like, this is just a thing with people who aren't funny. Like, people who aren't funny default to dirty humor, and it's unfortunate because there's so much potential for like dirty jokes. Like, I'm a big fan of Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Like, that's a lot of like dirty jokes that are like pretty solid because they're well written. They're good comedians who can use that well. But I think it's just like, I'm not very funny, I need to find a joke, and defaults to something gross.
Back now. So with this fight, Bowser Jr. sends everyone to a different planet, and coincidentally, now Bowser is free.
All right, just go ahead, hit him. Hit him. Ha! Hit me now!
Wait, what did he say?
Coincidentally, now Bowser is free.
All right, just go.
Coincidentally, now Bowser is free. Are you acting like that's a contrivance? The castle got destroyed. What are you talking about? That's not a coincidence. It's the castle got destroyed by Bowser Jr., and that freed Bowser because he was imprisoned in the castle. That's not that's not coincidentally at all.
Go ahead, hit him. Hit him. Ha! Hit me now! You tiny, pathetic failure of a plumber!
So much footage.
So the conceit is that Mario needs to hit Bowser so the mini power-up wears off, but we saw him slam his tail in the door earlier, so I guess
No, not the CinemaSins. Not the CinemaSins. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. How many views did this get? 571,000. Wow. You're complaining about You're complaining about people not looking deeper at media and saying it's just a kids movie, but then your extent of the criticism is Bowser turned big when he got hurt by Mario, but he didn't turn big when he slammed his tail in the door. Yeah, sure. Why didn't he just punch himself in the face? And I don't know. Maybe because that's not how the mini mushroom works. Maybe because the mini mushroom is only shown to turn someone big again when they get hit by someone else. And hitting yourself doesn't work because it wouldn't be a very effective power-up. It wouldn't be a very effective way to imprison Bowser if that was how it worked. Like, my goodness. And again, like, this is like, I guess you could levy this criticism. But, like, at this point, like, should we even have a story? Should you even have any magic in any story if you poke these kind of holes in it? And it's funny because you kind of could criticize that moment. Like, you know what? It's funny because I don't criticize it for this, but the mini mushroom doesn't actually work that way. Like in the games, like I said earlier, if you have a mini mushroom and you get hit by an enemy, you die. You don't turn back into being big. The mini mushroom doesn't work like a regular power-up. When you get hit, you turn back to normal. The mini mushroom, you die if you get hit. The movie changed this. The movie changed this. And it's actually a bit confusing the way that they changed it, because in the first Mario movie, we do see that where Mario gets a mini mushroom and then he gets hit by Donkey Kong and then he turns back to normal. And in that one, you could kind of get it from context. Like it was like, okay, like I guess in this version, it just turns him back. In the second one, it is a bit jarring because there's this whole scene where Bowser is trying to get Mario to hit him and you don't really get why, because if you've played the games, you're not associating getting hit as the mini mushroom as what makes you get big again. So it's a little confusing. I don't remember if they had a line where they said, oh yeah, if Bowser gets hit with the mini mushroom, he loses the power up and he goes back to normal. It's very clunky. And that's actually the criticism that you should make about the mini mushroom thing. And even with all of that, I still forgive it. I still think that that was a good moment, that Mario gave in to his base desires and hit Bowser, and that made him turn back to normal, and that caused all the problems with Bowser doing all of his Bowser stuff. I actually think that that was one of the few times in the movie that we had a genuine character moment. And you're here criticizing that based on, Bowser hit his tail earlier. Wouldn't that have made him big? Unbelievable.
Environmental hazards suddenly don't count. This movie's literally unwatchable.
Wait, were you being sarcastic?
This movie's literally unwatchable. On the door, conceit is that Mario needs to hit Bowser.
Were you being sarcastic? I don't understand. Who are you referring to?
So the conceit is that Mario needs to hit Bowser so the mini power-up wears off. But we saw him slam his tail on the door earlier, so I guess environmental hazards suddenly don't count.
Environmental hazards suddenly don't count? I think it would mean that hitting yourself wouldn't count. That's what that's how I would see it, is you don't lose a power-up. Like, you also wouldn't lose, like, does Mario lose the fire power-up if he stubs his toe? Like, when you lose a power-up, you get, like, hit really hard. Like, it's the thing that will kill you. If you have if you have no power-up, you die by hitting a Goomba. But if you have a fire flower, you lose the fire flower. So if it's something that would literally kill you if you were less powerful, then yeah, I think like you'd have to get hit pretty hard. So I guess the implication would just be that Mario hit Bowser really hard and that made the power-up wear off. And slamming your tail. Anyway, but that's not even what I was talking about. But
this movie's literally unwatchable.
He said this movie's literally unwatchable, and he said it almost sarcastically. But it seemed like you were making a real criticism there. And also, if you are going to say that sarcastically, this movie's literally unwatchable, and you're going to say it sarcastically, wouldn't you be referring to someone who actually made that criticism? Maybe someone did make that criticism and you're making fun of them, but you've made so many surface level criticisms like that, like the breastfeeding thing, and was there another one like that? I don't know. That, like, I think that you're serious. I don't know, it's very weird.
This is sarcasm.
Okay, I guess it is sarcasm. I guess that wasn't a real criticism. It's just very unfunny. This is sarcasm. Okay. Wait, but then why did you say it? Why would you say it as a... Like, are you criticizing CinemaSins tier criticisms? Because your video isn't about criticizing CinemaSins tier criticisms. Your video is actually about being more critical of stuff. So I don't know. I think it's just he saw an opportunity to make a joke based on where he was recapping the movie, and then he just kind of did. And it just played out really clunkily. Weird.
Hi. We need some help getting off your planet.
You will have to speak to the Queen, but the scary-looking guy stays here.
So when they meet the Queen, she's mad that they ruined her flower garden, and so she's gonna send everyone to, like, the lithium fields or whatever bees make, and then Bowser just...
The lithium fields. Is that a common phrase? It's honey mines in the actual movie, but lithium fields is weird.
Just storms right in anyway, and the problem is solved.
You know, being funny is really hard when you have a quota of jokes. There are ways to get around it, but I think what this person's issue is, other than the fact that they aren't very funny, and that's a problem, that you just aren't very funny, that you don't have a very good idea of like how comedy works. But another issue is I feel like this person's videos, he feels like he has to make a joke at the end of every like criticism. So he almost has like a quota of jokes. This is a problem that a lot of sitcoms run into. This is why in a lot of like sitcoms from like 20, 30 years ago, you see a lot of poorly aged jokes that are like just about like groups of people. We all know the kinds of jokes, right? And the reason that a lot of these jokes happen beyond, you know, prejudice is that jokes like that are very easy to make. And when you have a quota of jokes, you got to like make some kind of joke and it's like, I don't know, like let's just make fun of a group of people, you know, or something like that. Or a dirty joke. Like that's another reason that a dirty joke will happen. So I think the reason that we're getting a lot of really unfunniness is that this person is trying to like make jokes. They feel like making jokes is a part of how they are successful. Like if you watch my videos, there are times where I make jokes. Like I made quite a few in the Moana live action video. Like there's a lot of little quips that I had every so often. But I never go into my video going, I need to write X amount of jokes here. Because the point of my videos is not comedy. The point of my videos is to inform people. And every so often, if I see the opportunity to be funny, I understand the value of comedy, of making people pay attention more, of making people like you more. And these are things that are valuable to analyzing media. I feel like this person thinks of himself almost as much that he's a comedy channel as much as he is an analysis channel. And I feel like that might also be something that someone like this would hide behind if called out for certain takes. Like, oh, I'm just like a guy on the internet trying to be like funny. I don't know if they do. I don't know if they've said that. I'm not saying that that's something they've said, but sometimes you get into that territory where it's like, oh, I'm like just like someone, you know, like not taking yourself seriously enough because you're like, oh, I'm just a funny, quirky guy. I don't know. It's just not very good. It's just not very good analysis.
Literally 30 seconds later.
Someone must pay for their crimes.
Release them!
30 seconds later. Fields or whatever bees make. And then Bowser just storms right in anyway, and the problem is solved literally 30 seconds later.
Well, the time and why is he criticizing parts of the movie that were good? I don't get. You're 8 minutes in. What? There are so many things you can criticize about this movie. Why are you criticizing the speed in which Bowser does this? Like, what you could criticize about this is that Bowser makes this big stand to try and redeem himself and say, I will go to the honey mines because I did a bad thing and Mario and Luigi should go off on their adventure and they should stop my son and all this sort of stuff. And then he like goes back on it. You could even say he goes back on it literally 30 seconds later. Like you could say that Bowser's characterization is a bit inconsistent. There are parts of it that are done okay, where Bowser like has kind of an internal struggle, but like there's a lot of inconsistency with like, is Bowser evil? Is he not evil? Like the movie basically would just be like, Bowser's evil because this scene it's better for him to be evil, and in this scene it's better for him to be good. Like literally, I feel like that was how they were writing the movie. But the speed in which Bowser like this scene in a vacuum is fine. They go in, they're traveling with the bad guy who's like kind of reluctantly with them, and they don't quite trust the bad guy yet. They're questioning if he can be redeemed, and they're about to get sent to punishment, and the bad guy storms in and goes, "No, take me instead." Boom. That's a scene. That's a scene. That's a good scene. That, you know, you could screw it up later by not being consistent with that bad guy's redemption arc, but that is a scene. The time in which it took for like, oh, I'm sorry, do you need a 5-minute deliberation? Do you need a trial scene with the honeybee queen to figure all this out? I don't really see what more amount of dialogue would have gotten this across. Very weird.
Someone must pay for their crimes.
Release them! I shall serve their sentence in their stead. Take me and send them to the Gateway Galaxy.
And this scene pretty much sums up the entire movie. Like, things just happen, a problem arises, and then gets solved immediately, and there's no real consequence to anything that anyone says or does. Yeah!
What the heck was this?
And then gets solved immediately, and there's no real consequence to any...
What is this? What is this? What am I looking at? I'm sorry, am I blocking it? Just so yeah, I want to make sure everyone can see. Let's what's going on here? All right, what are we looking at? What am I seeing? What am I seeing? Why is there Home Improvement Tim Allen there? Is this supposed to be that he's... Is this... I'm uncomfortable. Is this like... Those are his legs, and Tim Allen's face is the censorship? This level of being unfunny, I think, needs some kind of medical attention. Moving on.
Anything that anyone says or does. Yeah, Alex, because it's a kid's movie. This is literally a movie about Super Mario, a video game for children.
Are you going to debunk it? You're going to actually debunk it, or just say that they're wrong and not give any argument yourself?
Why are you taking it so seriously?
Oh, gotta have the Shreks. Gotta have the random Shreks in the background. Dude, like, I could just picture, like, this dude, or his editor, or whoever made this decision, just, like, making the collage of Shreks and just, like, chuckling to themselves as they put random Shreks in a movie, in a movie review that has nothing to do with Shrek.
Thank you, Mr. Strawman. That brings me to another point.
Wait, that's not a straw man, though. People literally say this. Why do you have a straw man say that?
Thing that anyone says or does. Yeah, Alex, because it's a kid's movie. This is literally a movie about Super Mario, a video game for children. Why are you taking it so seriously? Thank you, Mr. Strawman.
Why are you saying thank you, Mr. Strawman? I've seen people say this. People actually, a straw man means you made it up. A straw man means you created the opposing argument, and it's not actually something that people say. Yeah, that's a very, like, I even was saying earlier that I kind of, like, praise the whole, like, putting a straw man. And there are ways that you could put, like, a straw man character to represent a straw man and, like, teach people what a straw man is and teach people about arguments. But you shouldn't put the straw man and have them say the argument that you're trying to debunk, because a straw man means that you're wrong. Like, when you argue with a straw man, it means that you're wrong and you're making up a position to argue against. So I think you're not really understanding what a straw man is.
Brings me to another point. Having just done videos recently about Zootopia 2, Hoppers, and now the Mario movie, it's become so painfully obvious to me that...
Okay, so this is the thesis. This was what he said in the beginning. So after almost 9 minutes of very surface level criticism, something weird about girlies, and 2 pretty gross jokes. I guess 3 with whatever this Tim Allen thing is. We finally get to the actual thesis.
Like, kids' entertainment has unilaterally become much worse. You're just an old millennial who's...
I have not seen Hoppers or Zootopia 2, so I cannot speak on them. I would assume that they are both more high quality than the Mario Galaxy movie.
being driven by blind nostalgia. Yeah, okay, I'm not just talking about my childhood. I'm talking about movies from like 2016, 2014, 2012. Now, when I watch these modern movies and I think to myself how dumb and brain-rotty they are, I often wonder if I'm just like
Oh, he did not like Hoppers or Zootopia 2. Okay, I don't know much about either of those movies, so I can't really speak on them.
Off. So in preparation for this video, I also went back and watched the Lego movie from 2014, which also stars Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt. He's so cool.
And is also about kids' toys, also full of slapstick and references and zany, fast-paced humor, etc., etc.
Lord Business, or as you think you know him.
Okay, so he's comparing the Lego movie to the Mario Galaxy movie. That's actually a good comparison.
I remember seeing this movie when it came out in theaters, and I haven't thought about it since. So this is definitely not just my nostalgia talking. I'm not saying this movie is a masterpiece, okay? But it basically does everything the Mario Galaxy movie does, but just better. In between the very thick satire and self-aware humor, like there's actually a somewhat interesting story being told, and it wraps up at the end with like the real-world dad and son coming together, you know?
Okay, he said it's a real good story, but why? What is it? You can't just say it's good and not say why. Is that actually what reviewing stuff is? Is reviewing stuff actually just saying something is good and then just moving on? Like, have I been overthinking this? Because I've been doing this for a long time. Is that really all I had to do? Because I thought getting into this that you had to do more than that.
Oh, we got a hugger.
Like I was saying earlier, I think what...
Yeah, he didn't. He just said the dad and son had a nice moment, but he didn't say how it reinforced the themes and how it has character arcs and all that sort of stuff. He didn't use any of those terms. He just said it was good. It had a story.
Reason why...
But why did the Lego movie have a story and why did the Mario Galaxy movie not? I agree with you. You just need to demonstrate how.
This movie seems to work so much better, even though it feels similar. It's because the Lego company doesn't take their IP like super seriously, as you can see.
He's saying this again with I'm less inclined. Like he's saying the exact same thing he said about Sega. I do think that's kind of why. It's not that they take it seriously. It's that Nintendo. It's that. Yeah, it's not so much taking it seriously or not taking your franchise seriously. I don't really think it's that. It's more so that Nintendo has a specific, very strict brand image on their characters that disallows doing a lot with them, especially Mario. I do think that that's an issue, but that's not the be-all, end-all issue. I do think that he's laying a little too much of the blame at Nintendo's feet here, and I do think that Illumination and the people behind the movie need to take a little bit of responsibility as well for this. I do think it does have to do with just knowing they can get away with it. I think, really, it's really a motivation thing. Like he said, the Sonic movies were better, and now he's saying the Lego movie was better. I think that the Lego movie and the Sonic movies knew that they had to do something with their stories to make their movies stand out more. I know Lego's a big franchise, but I don't think people would have just seen the Lego movie if it was as shallow as the Mario movie. I think it would have been much more of an uphill battle. I think a big part of the Lego movie's reputation is that it had themes. Same thing with the Sonic movie. They had to be better. Mario did not have to be. They did not have that fire under their butts for Mario. They just don't. They can get away with it and still be $1 billion movies without doing what stories should have. They're just on different levels as a franchise. And I think that there is a criticism here with talking about how Nintendo holds on to its IP as opposed to others. Sure. But I also think that even within Nintendo's more strict rules, I think that Illumination could have done something more. I think that there were, like, I don't, like, here's what it is. I don't see a conversation where the people from Illumination were like, yeah, we're going to have the Mario Galaxy movie have this character arc for Mario. And Miyamoto was like, no, Mario's not allowed to have a character arc. Like, I'm sure that there are certain kinds of character arcs that could have been shot down by Nintendo because they're very careful with how they use the character, but I don't think that it's like the be all end all. I think it's basically Illumination got a hold of Mario, they went through the motions, they did kind of whatever, and they were like, yeah, this is enough, and they just kind of put it out there. And that's more of the issue than some kind of like, it's because this company takes their IP more seriously.
From like the Lego games themselves, so they can reach further and deeper than something like Ralph Breaks the Internet or the Mario.
I don't get what you mean with being held on brand image, like what you want Mario to suddenly be mean and unfriendly or something. No, it's that Mario as a video game character is meant to be a blank slate because you as the player play as him. So how Mario is portrayed in every video game is very carefully curated so that you as the player can still feel like you are him. It's a very delicate balance. And then from there, they have the Yahoo and the stuff that Mario does between that, and they find this balancing act of making you feel like you are Mario and that Mario is still a character. And in order to do this, Mario games don't have stories that involve character arcs. Mario does not undergo an arc where he changes as a person within the games that you play with him. And that's fine for a video game because in a video game, the value you get out of the video game is how you as a person interact with the gameplay and you solving the problem of the game to beat the game. That is the social function of video games. So they don't need a story like a movie does. And then you take that character and you translate it to a movie, you have to change a lot of stuff. You don't have to make Mario grittier to give him a character arc. He can still be a pretty happy-go-lucky character and still have like character flaws. But the things that you do have to do with Mario is that you have to make him different in a way that kind of shatters him being a suitable playable character in a video game, which would be fine. I don't really know if Nintendo would have stopped them from doing that. I really don't. But yeah.
Movies can.
Who said that?
I did. I am Ghost Vitruvius.
Even just from a visual point of view, I find the Lego movies so much more fun to watch because like they're actually Legos, you know what I mean? The fire is Lego and the water is Lego, and the ways they found to visually represent the movie are far more interesting to me than the Mario movie, which is basically just like, what if this stuff was kind of real? But that's all beside.
I don't think that's a fair criticism. I don't think that's a fair criticism. Are you saying that what should it have looked like then? Should it have looked like the video game? Because it kind of did. I mean, like it didn't. Like I reject that criticism like completely. That is not a valid criticism at all. Should they have been made out of Lego? Like you're saying, the Lego movie was cool because the special effects were Lego. Like the fire was actually Lego and the water was actually Lego. Like, wasn't that cool? What is the equivalent for the Mario movie? What could they have done? Why are you holding them to this standard? Why are you even saying? Like visually, the Mario movie actually looked really good. You could have had the exact same visuals and just told a better story. I don't think that the visuals harmed it at all. They translated that world so well. That's an insanely bad take. He's literally just saying that because the Lego movie did cool stuff with its Lego stuff and the Mario movie didn't have it's because it's not a gimmick. It's literally that shallow. It's literally the Lego movie had a gimmick to how it was portrayed visually, and that gimmick was very cool. It was done very well, but it's literally just saying the Lego movie had a gimmick, Mario movie doesn't have a gimmick, therefore Mario movie is bad because it doesn't have gimmick. That's actually how shallow this is. Does every movie that doesn't have a gimmick shallow? Is every movie that doesn't have a gimmick shallow? Like, that's so ridiculous. And, like, show me the parts of the Mario Galaxy movie that were done poorly visually then, as compared to the Lego movie. I'm sure you could find them. I'm sure, like, I didn't really have any issues with the visuals of the Mario Galaxy movie. It was not one of my criticisms at all.
Interesting to me than the Mario movie, which is basically just like movies. Zootopia 1 is a kid's movie. Toy Story 1, 2, and 3. It's that, like, the Lego movie is a kid's movie. Zootopia 1 is a kid's movie. Toy Story 1, 2, and 3 are kids' movies. And the further back you go, the more seriously people used to take kids' entertainment.
When I started to put these things together, I guess it was this one, and I realized that
Mr. Rogers had child psychologists on staff when they were writing their shows to make sure they were telling kids the right things in the right way. I mean,
Okay, so I get what he's saying, that there was, like, times where there was, for Mr. Roger, they had actual child psychologists. For Blue's Clues, yeah, Blue's Clues has, like, some, like, crazy, like, writing rules. Like, the way that Blue's Clues is written is, like, super precise to, like, make sure that the kids are following along. There's, like, something with that. And then, like, compared to Cocomelon, like, that sucks. Yeah, sure. But, like, we still have Sesame Street. Like, and back when Mr. Rogers was around, there was shows that were slop too. Like, wouldn't there have been? I mean, is this actually a trend that is specifically now, or are you just saying it's now to make it sound more sensationalist? That's my main question. There could be specific issues that have to do with now, but I feel like there's a bit of a recency bias to this. Like, there were... I mean, like, in the 80s, there was, like, Transformers in the 80s was just, like, garbage to sell toys. You know, like, it's just, they just made a show that was super shallow just so they could sell toys. Like, that was a big problem in the 80s. So it's not always recency bias. You're just finding an example of a really high quality show for kids like Mr. Rogers or Blue's Clues or Sesame Street. I guess you wouldn't say Sesame Street because Sesame Street is still on. So that would defeat your argument. I guess that in good faith, some things you could look at. You could look at how Cocomelon is the most popular thing that kids watch. And back then it was Blue's Clues. I don't know what actually numbers-wise was the most watched. That's a problem. That we could say. That has to do with now. That I could give you. But I think that you're just focusing on the wrong things.
Compare Blue's Clues to, like, Cocomelon, you know what I'm saying? Blue's Clues taught kids things, it spoke to them slowly, it gave them time to respond, you know, like a kid's show. But now we're in this world where parents use TikTok and YouTube as babysitters, and kids are just growing up with fast-paced, quite literal brain rot. Like, there's a study from 2024 that shows that just 9 minutes of watching this kind of stuff quite literally feeds into this whole cyclical problem here. I mean, if anything, I think we should take them more seriously because they are kids' movies. Because, like, the media you consume when you're a kid plays a huge role in shaping your personality, your sense of humor, how you see the world. Like,
yeah, I've said that. I think that's a really solid take. Where it's, yeah, like, kids' movies not only are important to criticize, but they're important to but they're also, like, there's an extra importance to them because they do shape young people throughout their lives. That is, yeah, I mean, like, you still could say stuff good, you know, in the middle of a lot of stuff. It's just when you say something that is this solid of a take, and it's after, you know, I just feel like you kind of mess up your credibility when you say, I want to see Yoshi's Cloaca. I just think you kind of screw that up, you know?
I've always been really into 2D animation, specifically because I grew up in a time when that's pretty much all there was. People make this? I want to make this too. I mean, until a Goofy movie came out, Goofy's entire character was just, like, getting hit in the head with baseballs or whatever. But then they tried to do something a little deeper and made one of the most, like, core memory, childhood-defining movies of all time. Life is stuff like this doing for soft kid brains today, aside from keeping their attention with jingling keys for 90 minutes.
Yeah, I kind of said the same thing. Come here! But he's also not saying how. Like, he didn't analyze enough. So, like, he's kind of skipping a step here. So he took like 12 minutes and he was like kind of... Also, he kind of abandoned the recap. You notice this? This is weird. He was recapping the movie from the beginning. Look, he's like, Lumas. And then he goes, they found Yoshi. And then he goes... And then the Luma shows up and Princess Peach goes off. And then Mario and Luigi are with Bowser and there's the fight scene. And then he goes to this. And then he gets to this kids movie section. And he just abandons the recap. Isn't that weird? It's almost like he was writing this script so that he was gonna go through the plot of the whole movie. And then he just kind of in the middle just switched to this other subject. That's so weird. Anyway, I just think he's skipping steps here. So, and I think that's an indication of how this isn't organized enough to properly give this good message. Like, for 12 minutes, he was just kind of recapping little random things in the movie and giving little criticisms and bad jokes. And then he gets to the thesis. But this time in the video is supposed to be you setting up what the movie actually did wrong, what it actually did incorrectly. You have to actually argue why it's a weaker story, why it doesn't resonate, and then this part is where you say why that's important. You haven't argued that the movie didn't resonate, so saying that it's important that it needs to doesn't make any sense if you aren't going to actually argue why it didn't do that. If you're not actually going to argue how it didn't do that.
I watched babies. You could have just used your tongue to grab the zapper itself and save us all from having to watch Mario babies, which are easily the worst part of any Mario game. I'm doing a video about Toy Story 2, so I watched it recently as well after watching Hoppers. And like, there's a huge slow chunk of that movie where Woody is watching his old 1950s like TV show, you know? And he watches it for a really long time. And I just kept thinking to myself how like Pixar would never do this today because they're scared of kids, you know, looking away for even just 2 seconds.
What?
So I watched it recently as well after watching Hoppers. And like, there's a huge slow chunk of that movie where Woody is watching his old 1950s like TV show, you know? And he watches it for a really long time. And I just kept thinking to myself how like Pixar would never do this today because they're scared of kids, you know, looking away for even just 2 seconds. Instead of that,
I don't buy that. I don't buy that one bit. I feel like I think you're pulling that out of nowhere. I get the sentiment of like, you don't need this example. This is a very flawed example, saying that there's a scene in Toy Story 2 where Woody watches his old thing for a while. Like, you could just say that a lot of movies today are a little too fast-paced. I don't really buy that. I don't really buy that comparison. I think that it sounds really profound as you say it, but I don't think that that's actually... I don't think that's actually the case.
That is just any slapstick every 3 minutes or less, which is actually a quote from Shigeru Miyamoto himself about why the Mario Galaxy movie is the way it is. Another approach is to create things using small partial units. For example, 30 units of 3 minutes make up 90 minutes. And it's very similar to my own method. Illumination's technique involves a lot of swapping and rearranging of those units, creating something with incredible density. For example, parents sitting there out of a sense of responsibility for taking their children to the movie theater, or a story that's moving for the parents but the children are running around the theater. I've always wanted to make a movie that isn't like that. So in that sense, I think it's good that we decided to make a fast-paced 90 minutes that would be over in no time to catch your breath. This is an insane thing to say. And you know, I'm always saying like older kids movies were better, but like literally Illumination's own catalog of movies used to be better. I still maintain that Despicable Me 1 and 2 are legitimately good movies. The first one in particular I think is great. It's funny, but there's a both want support. 2010, so like now we've all just accepted that kid stuff means it has to be garbage. Even like old Barbie movies that I know, some of these are legit.
We need to totally start
Mario set piece with little to no or when they
good.
It must be.
Arena is, and this guy is gonna take us there.
So this Mario's gonna get jealous, but then he doesn't, that kind of thing. Any we're gonna get stuck on a Ferris wheel, and we might have to sit through a slow, boring piece of character development. Ew, barf, am I right? But don't worry, kids, nothing cerebral's gonna think.
Okay, so he kind of skips to analyzing the end here.
when she lived on a small planet with...
Into a 10 real fast, you know what I'm saying? By how beautiful the movie looks when it comes to 3D anime parts. This kind of human jank, so much of about that. For shortcuts, these plugins, Monster House looks like Nightmare PS1 Hagrid. But to me, personally, these movies are far better movies than some of this recent stuff. Now, I'm not saying...
All right, there wasn't really that much in the rest that I thought was super interesting. Yeah, I'd say that basically my main criticism of this dude... Go back, what did he say about Peach? Wait, he said something about Peach? All right, I guess we'll see that.
I'm literally crying right now. And then the movie ends with Peach realizing that she's not just a Mary Sue, she's like the Mary Sue.
Their love.
In that OMG, he's Mary Sue.
As the summon the power of the cosmos.
That's right, little girls. You want to be a girl boss? Just be born special, idiot. And we also find out that Peach and Rosalina are sisters.
Her story begins many years ago.
Which, like, I mean, that's gonna take when it comes to 3 to a
I don't think he said anything else.
Like Peach and Mar, and he's intentionally trying the movie just be.
All right, I think that's about it. I think that's really the extent of it for me. Yeah, I think like this dude's deal is. Yeah, I think it's just kind of a regular. It's just media illiteracy, guys. You know, that's kind of always the end of this is probably someone who like genuinely enjoys media and like watching stuff and does want stuff to be better, but doesn't really know how to properly argue it and doesn't really know how to see what needs to be fixed in sorts of stuff like this. So he ends up resorting to, when he makes these videos, doing like surface level things and surface level criticisms and getting bogged down with like going on the wrong stuff. And then he says something that does make sense about like how kids movies, you know, should be taken more seriously in this. But I just think that there's a very big weakness when it comes to the writing of this and the way that this is argued. Yeah. And the girly stuff was weird. That was definitely odd. Definitely odd. I mean, how often does he post? It's hard to say. He seems to post pretty often. 1 month ago, 1 month ago, 1 month ago. 1 month ago, 1 month ago. So in the 1 month ago, so that would be between... That was a member exclusive. Let's just count the... Oh, he has a couple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... Okay, 5. So those 5 videos in 1 month, within the 1 month ago. And then there's been 5 in this month. And this month has 11 days left as of doing this stream. He posts pretty often. I think it could possibly be an issue that he feels like he has to keep up with so many videos. That, and combined with the fact that he does little animations in them, that is just going to take more time. I think his actual analysis suffers because he's putting out too much. I think he's not able to properly give the attention that is necessary. But I think also it's a vicious cycle. I think he's someone who wasn't really capable of giving really deep analysis to stuff in the first place. And from there, he just doesn't. So from there he gets popular, and then he can't really he keeps doing the output, and it becomes a vicious cycle. He wants to put out a lot of videos because these are the amounts of videos that works the best for his business model. And they're all kind of shallow, and it's a vicious cycle. It's a vicious cycle. And that's probably what this person has been kind of stuck in with all this sort of stuff. So yeah, kind of an interesting specimen, for sure. Maybe I'll revisit him at some point. But yeah, I think it's more, I think, you know, I wouldn't say that like, you know, he's like complete trash or whatever. I don't think I would really watch him, to be honest. But I think it's a bit weak. I think it's pretty surface level, shallow analysis. But I think he could do better. I think if he actually examined these issues, I think he could do a lot better. I feel like people with 4 million subscribers who've been doing it for 10 years, I think they're kind of just going to be who they are at that point. I don't think there's much room for real strong change and improvement there. Perhaps I'm wrong. Perhaps he could step it up, but yeah, that's kind of basically all I have to say about him. So yeah, that's Alex Myers. Wouldn't your perspective change if you watched the Obsession video? By the way, he's 38. Oh, he's 30. Oh, he's 10 years older than me. Huh, so he started when he was my age. Because you said 10 years. Well. You should still watch a vid talking about his Obsession vid. Did someone re-upload? Is there a re-upload? Oh yeah, here's a re-upload. There's a re-upload. Oh wait. Oh yeah, 4 days ago. But will he try to copyright me if I watch the re-upload? All right, I could look at a couple things. Oh yeah, Alex Myers put a copyright claim on the original video, so no one can re-upload it. Yeah, he's good. He'll try to nuke me. I could try to look for a Reddit post that talked about it. I guess we could see that, because I guess we should know. I guess it's important. Okay. He had an apology. What was his apology? I want to know what he actually said. I don't think I can actually watch the video because I think he's going to try to can me for it. What's the main post about it? All right, let's see. Yes, Alex Myers deserves the hate as a former fan. Let's see. All right, here's what I believe Alex was trying to say. Bear in the beginning of the movie is not evil for the One Wish Willow. It was simply an immature, nervous, harmless wish that his crush would like him back. Do. Yeah, I haven't seen the movie, so I can't speak on it. I don't know what they're talking about. I haven't seen the movie. If I watched the movie, I'd be able to talk about it. All right. You could always fight the copyright claim if you try. This is fair use content after all. Yeah, I'm a bit traumatized from this morning because of the whole Ozzy Fox thing. I'll tell you what, I'll sit on this stream for a little while. Maybe I'll come back to it, and maybe I'll add it in the final video. So maybe I'll come back to Alex Myers later. How's that sound? Can you read the transcript of the re-uploaded video? Oh, okay, yeah. There's some. I imagine not having seen I should watch Obsession then. Maybe I'll watch Obsession and then I'll dive in. How old is this controversy? 10 days ago? That's an eternity in internet time. All right, well, I'll think about it. I'll see if I want to go forward with it or if I just want to do the regular Alex Myers stuff. Should be fine. I'll think about it. But I definitely got to stop streaming for now because I will kill my voice. But, yeah. All right. Thank you all so much for watching. Bye-bye, everyone. See you next time.